Chapter 1620. On the vast battlefield, only 11 people remained. The entire space fell into a state of silence once more. Right now, the remaining 11 were all supreme immortal emperors. They were either famous peak-stage immortal emperors or supreme geniuses, exuding boundless magnificence. The weakest among the 11 was none other than the mid-stage immortal emperor Tion. But even so, Tion was still very famous in Lifefire City. Apart from Tion, the other 10 were all experts that had been nurtured by the various factions of Longevity City. From this, one could very well imagine how powerful Lifelong City was as the absolute center of the Lifelong Realm. Over here, all the major powers gathered here. Those powerful characters naturally originated from there. The remaining people were all very proud and confident, but they weren't arrogant. They also knew how strong each other was. Other than a few extremely arrogant individuals who didn't need to fight and no one dared to challenge them, the other few didn't have absolute confidence in defeating the others. Right now, they were only a step away from the top 10, they only needed to eliminate one person. At this moment, they naturally wanted stability and wouldn't act recklessly. Although there was only a single rank difference between the top 10 rankers and the 11th ranker, the meaning was completely different. This time around, the Lifelong Realm Lord would only reward the top 10 rankers. As for the 11th ranker, he would be a failure and would be forgotten by everyone. Even if he managed to attract the attention of the Lifelong Saint Hall because of his strength, his name would eventually be forgotten in history. For this once-a-100-year grand banquet, his name would no longer exist and his name would be a part of his history. After a moment of silence, no one spoke. Only Xianyuan Tiangang from the Xianyuan clan spoke. Staying silent isn't a solution. Ultimately, two people have to go out to fight. Could it be that I really have to go out and challenge one of them? If that's the case, don't blame me if I end up challenging someone. This voice was extremely tyrannical and direct. Clearly, Xianyuan Tiangang was extremely confident and felt that he shouldn't be eliminated. In truth, he was originally a character at the peak and was extremely terrifying. The majority of people here understood that if Xianyuan Tiangang chose them, there was an 80 to 90% chance that they would be eliminated. Hence, it was best not to let Xianyuan Tiangang fight. Nobody knew who he would choose. That's right, just go out yourself. Jian Yi from the Sword Spirit sect also spoke. He closed his eyes as he spoke, but his tone was filled with a domineering aura, giving off an incomparably confident feeling. Of the 11, the one with the lowest cultivation level can come out and challenge anyone. If he wins, he'll be in the top 10. If he loses, he'll be eliminated. The Holy Son of the Divine Dragon cult spoke. Although he did not name anyone, who did not know who he was referring to. Out of the 11 people here, only one was at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. The one with the lowest cultivation base was clearly Tion. He wanted Tion to take the initiative to choose one of his opponents. Tion opened his eyes and glanced at the Heaven Dragon Holy Son. Why don't you come out and pick the person yourself? Why do you need someone else to come out? If you want to challenge me, I don't mind. This was already a provocation. The Heavenly Dragon Saint Son's expression was like that of a demon, incomparably tyrannical. His eyes were like the eyes of a divine dragon as he said, I gave you the initiative, yet you don't know what's good for you? If that's the case, then I have to thank you. Tion coldly laughed. Before this, there were already many who felt that those with low cultivation bases should be eliminated. Look at the result. Now, you actually still have such thoughts? In that case, I'll grant you your wish. As he spoke, Tion walked out from the light screen. He directly turned his gaze to the Heaven Dragon Saint Son. I'll choose you then. The Heaven Dragon Saint Son's eyes gleamed with a terrifying demonic light. Among the top 10, other than Tion, he was definitely not the weakest. He believed that Tion himself could tell this as well. Xianyuan Tiangang and Sword Ion have already spoken. Hence, the tyrannical Heaven Dragon Saint Son directly named Tion, allowing him to challenge one of his opponents. But he didn't expect that Tion would be so impulsive, directly choosing him. Could it be that Tion didn't know the danger of doing so? Or maybe he didn't care about being in the top 10? Grandmaster D is truly arrogant. Jialon Yunhai sighed. Emichim, Jialon Yuntian nodded lightly. His brows suddenly furrowed as though he was contemplating something. He naturally knew that Di Tian was an extremely arrogant person. This point could be seen from the commotion he caused in Lifire City. Even Xia Ho didn't manage to make Di Tian submit, causing a storm of commotion. The scandal of the governor's manner spread throughout Lifire City. After that, his Jialon clan made a move to threaten Di Tian, eventually forcing Di Tian to compromise and stand on their side. At that time, he was still extremely complacent, and in addition to his friendship with Di Tian, as well as his relationship with Jialon Chiyue, he gradually forgot how he forced Di Tian to submit. But as his understanding of Di Tian grew deeper and deeper, as well as the powerful talent and combat prowess Di Tian displayed, Jialon Yuntian suddenly felt that something was wrong. It was too simple. Back then, Di Tian's compromise with the Jialon clan was too simple. This shouldn't be the case. Such a proud person, a genius with extraordinary weaponsmithing abilities, as well as the ability to jump levels to fight. Even if he was in Lifelong City, he could easily choose a major power to join and become a core member, being nurtured heavily. It didn't matter even if he had to abandon his Emperor Pavilion. There was no need for him to lower his head to the Jialon clan unless he had something important to do in Lifire City. In addition, he could only depend on himself. When he thought of this, Jialon Yuntian's brows furrowed even tighter. He glanced at Jialon Chiyue beside him and called out, "Chiyue." Jialon Chiyue was currently paying attention to the battlefield. When she heard Jialon Yuntian's words, she turned her gaze over and asked, "Grandpa, what's wrong?" Staring at the bright light in Jialon Chiyue's eyes, Jialon Yuntian could faintly sense that his granddaughter was about to fall into the trap. Let alone Jialon Chiyue, even he himself had almost fallen into the trap. When he thought of this, he felt fear in his heart. As the clan leader of the Jialon clan, he shouldn't lose his judgment. Nothing much. Jialon Yuntian wanted to say something but hesitated. Let's just watch the battle. Emichim, Jialon Chiyue nodded lightly. Although she felt puzzled, she soon forgot about it. Her gaze was filled with nervousness as she stared at the battlefield. Over there, the Heaven Dragon Saint Child radiated a towering demonic chi as numerous terrifying demonic dragons were summoned over, blotting out the sky. However, Di Tian also released his astral soul. Astral light cascaded downwards as supreme greater demons descended from the heavens. There were true dragons, vermilion birds, Kirins, great rocks, primal chaos, divine elephants, etc. For a period of time, the entire sky and earth trembled violently. The Heaven Dragon Saint Child frowned. Di Tian was actually able to summon greater demons to battle. He coldly snorted as an incomparably gigantic divine dragon descended from the sky. Its golden claws tore through space, directly aiming for Di Tian's body. The greater demons around Di Tian gathered together, forming a terrifying demonic domain. With a roar of rage, countless greater demons appeared, resembling a vortex of darkness, slowly swallowing the gigantic divine dragon. Screams of misery rang out from within before they gradually dissipated. Di Tian's body was surrounded by the greater demons, and the greater demons around him all gathered together, forming a terrifying demonic domain. Di Tian's body flowed with terrifying demonic bloodline energy, transforming into a fearsome blood-colored light. His entire person was like a demon god, and he who was wearing a mask appeared even more mysterious and terrifying. Di Tian's silhouette flashed as he directly vanished from sight. A gate of sealing manifested, containing an incomparably deep dimension within, directly blasting towards the Heaven Dragon Saint Child, wanting to seal him within. The Heaven Dragon Saint Child roared in rage. Terrifying demonic dragons frenziedly rushed out, clashing against the greater demons around Di Tian. A terrifying storm ravaged the heavens and earth, wanting to annihilate everything. Di Tian's eyes shot out, penetrating through the Heaven Dragon Saint Child's eyes. Soul attacks, holy will attacks, and sealing light simultaneously erupted forth, even more tyrannical compared to before. The Heaven Dragon Saint Child's entire person seemed to have transformed, becoming even stronger. The Heaven Dragon Saint Child roared unceasingly. He felt an incomparably intense threat. He was actually being ruthlessly suppressed. Di Tian's astral souls flashed. The Heaven Dragon Saint Child's body resembled a dragon, becoming incomparably gigantic. However, Di Tian's eyes grew more and more terrifying. His sealing astral souls appeared, sealing everything. Boundless sealing light gushed forth, sealing the demonic dragons, as well as the laws of heaven and earth. In fact, even the energy in the Heaven Dragon Saint Child's body was sealed. He frenziedly tried to defend, but the sealing light was endless, sealing everything. No one could block it. Di Tian's gaze was extremely terrifying. The 8 greater demons circled around him, exuding an unexcelled aura. He stepped out and coldly punched out, directly wanting to crush everything. With a thunderous boom, the Heaven Dragon Saint Child was struck. He screamed in pain as fresh blood gushed forth as he was directly flung through the air. After blasting the Heaven Dragon Saint Child away, Di Tian swept his gaze over to the others. Is there anyone else who isn't satisfied with a low-level cultivator like me standing here? You can speak now. I will directly challenge him. His tyrannical voice caused the expressions of everyone to freeze. They were actually speechless. The Heaven Dragon Saint Child was so powerful, yet he was suppressed so easily. This Di Tian grew stronger and stronger as he fought. He was like a bottomless pit. They didn't know how powerful he was at his full strength. They naturally wouldn't act recklessly. Seeing that no one spoke, Di Tian retracted his aura and returned to his original position. He silently mused, I was a little impulsive. Although this is the supreme ancient immortal realms, I still have to be more careful. The power he unleashed was completely the same as Qin Wentian's in the past. If they were in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, people would surely know that they were the same person. But now, the path the Qin Wentian's original body was walking on was completely different. This was especially so after the original body cultivated his astral souls. The disparity between them was extremely great. Even if the original body removed his mask, no one would believe that they were the same person. However, no one in the supreme ancient immortal realms knew of him. Hence, it didn't matter if he revealed himself once. He just had to be more careful in the future. Chapter 1621. Di Tian slaughtered his way into the top 10 with his mid-stage Immortal Emperor cultivation base. Nobody said anything. Di Tian was the first to walk out. His gaze landed on the Poison Saint's disciple. The other party instantly understood his intention and slowly walked out. The Ziyang Immortal Emperor also walked out. He challenged a supreme Immortal Emperor. After tens of thousands of years of cultivation, the Ziyang Immortal Emperor's terrifying cultivation base and law domain. He relied on his tyrannical attacks to defeat his opponent, resulting in the birth of the number 10 ranker. With a chi sound, as the sound of the word concede rang out, his body was directly flung through the air as he fell onto the ground. His face turned pale as he coldly glanced at Di Tian. After that he stood up and returned to his seat. Realm Lord, Di Tian came together with the Jialan clan and came from Lifire City. Before this, a governor of Lifire City had an exchange with him and there seems to be some conflict between them. Earlier, I've also noticed the discussions in the Lifire Palace. This Di Tian seems to be a weaponsmithing grandmaster. The people from Lifire City didn't even know that his combat prowess is so strong. A person at the side spoke. The Poison Saint's disciple was clad in white. There was no poison chi around him, and he looked extremely elegant and carefree. No matter how you looked at him, you wouldn't be able to tell that he was a peak-stage immortal emperor. But if you neglected him, that would be the most fatal. His poison was formless and invisible. It would corrode into one's body, entering one's internal organs and even one's soul. The top 10 were determined, but the battles still had to continue. The rules remained the same. It was still a free-for-all battle. Whoever was the first to be eliminated would be ranked at the bottom. Although this might not be fair, this banquet used martial arts to liven things up. It wasn't for the sake of absolute fairness. Next, everyone would have to depend on their own methods. The remaining people all felt more and more terrifying. For the top 10 characters, No matter what their ranking was, they would all be rewarded by the Realm Lord. One could very well imagine that the lifelong St. Hall would view them highly. At that time, there was a high possibility that they would use D. Tion. This would be of great help to D. Tion's future. After this battle, the disciple of the Book Saint was determined to be the number 4 ranker. After that, the disciple of the Setting Sun Academy challenged the young master of the Sun Moon Villa and defeated him. The number 9 ranker was determined. Invisible streams of air flowed in the air, almost undetectable. Facing an expert like the Saint of Poison's disciple, if you simply assumed that the poison gas was black and roiling, you would die a miserable death. This battle seemed to be the easiest one for him, but it was this battle that allowed him to enter the top 3. After that, the Saint Poison's disciple defeated an opponent, and the 8th rank appeared. This Grandmaster D isn't simple at all. In the direction of the Xinyuan clan, Xinyuan House spoke in a low voice. D. Tion's weaponsmithing and martial arts were both so terrifying. These 6 people were Xinyuan Tiangang, Sword Ion, Immortal Emperor Ziyang, Poison Saint's disciple, Calligrapher's disciple, and D. Tion. How did D. Tion survive until now? This was because he had crushed all those who doubted him and wanted him to be eliminated, including the Saint's son of the Sky Dragon clan. If you couldn't do it, you would be eliminated. Therefore, to be able to make it to this stage of the auction was definitely not luck, but true strength. After that, Xinyuan Tiangang walked out. Immortal Emperor Ziyang did the same. Since both sides had silently agreed to it, they had to fight even if they didn't want to. For glory. It wasn't the top 3, but the actual ranking. They believed that D. Tion would be ranked 3rd. The last 3 remaining were Xinyuan Tiangang from the Xinyuan clan, Sword Ion from the Sword Spirit sect, and D. Tion from the Lifefire City. Sword Ion also walked out. He glanced at D. Tion, but ultimately, he didn't choose D. Tion as his opponent. He chose young noble Seizing Heart instead. The two of them fought intensely, sword chi permeated the air, and eventually, Sword Ion relied on his fearsome swordsmanship to defeat his opponent. The 7th rank was born. This battle could be said to be the most soul-stirring battle up until now. You actually dared to be so careless when challenging me? The Saint Poison's disciple stared at D. Tion. As the sound of his voice faded, a terrifying poison chi enveloped this entire space. The formless poison chi seemed to have completely drilled out from the air, becoming sinister and terrifying. In just an instant, the normal flow of air transformed into a world of poison. Also, the Saint Poison's disciple could already sense that the poison chi had already invaded D. Tion's body. If things were really like what Xinyuan Tiangang said, there would be 2 more people who would be eliminated. D. Tion wouldn't be one of the challengers. This meant that D. Tion would be one of the top 3 rankers. It's hard to say. Even now, I feel that he hasn't used his full strength yet. Maybe, there's hope for him to be one of the top 3 rankers. Jian Lizi's silhouette flashed as he directly walked out. He wanted to challenge someone from the Scholars sect. This scene caused the expression of the Ziyang Immortal Emperor to stiffen. Jian Lizi was a step ahead of him. He also wanted to challenge someone from the Scholars sect because it would be much easier to deal with someone from the Scholars sect compared to Xinyuan Tiangang. Jian Lizi also had the same thoughts, hence, he was a step faster than him. This battle was extremely violent and intense, even more tyrannical compared to the earlier battles. However, it wasn't that evenly matched. Although it was tyrannical, the degree of intensity was slightly lower. Xinyuan Tiangang held the advantage from the start to the end. Finally, he tyrannically defeated the Ziyang Immortal Emperor and became one of the top 3 rankers. In an instant, the countenance of the Saint Poison's disciple turned extremely unsightly to behold. This battle was also extremely intense. Sword chi and scrolls of scrolls filled the air as resplendent astral light flashed. Boundless sword techniques could be seen. The sword spirits of ancient sages seemed to have come from the primordial era. The scrolls of scrolls contained a myriad of laws of the great Tao, exuding boundless might. Although the Saint Poison's disciple didn't wish to face Xinyuan Tiangang, how could he be weak? The battle between the two of them was extremely intense and finally, Jian Lizi won by a hair's breadth. The continuous intense battles caused the spectators to be unable to take it all in. All of them exclaimed in admiration. For those who were eliminated, none of them were weaklings. One could only say that their luck was bad, their opponents were much stronger than them. There are still 6 people remaining. Let's split into groups of 2 and the top 3 rankers will be determined. Xianyuan Tiangang casually spoke. His meaning was that all 6 of them had to participate in the battles. Just nice, there were 3 groups of 2 and 3 would be eliminated. Since you know I'm the one challenging you, how dare you be so careless? Di Tian returned the words of the Saint Poison's disciple. His eyes gleamed with a terrifying sharpness as his sword qi ravaged the body of the Saint Poison's disciple. The Saint Poison's disciple groaned in misery as he coughed out fresh blood. He then spoke in a low voice, "I concede." The lifelong Realm Lord smiled and nodded. "Which rank do you think he will be able to enter?" Being able to be ranked number 3 was already something to be proud of. He should be proud of himself, right? This caused the Ziyang Immortal Emperor to silently curse. This sword Ion was truly a crafty old fox. He was still immersed in the battle between Di Tian and the Saint Poison's disciple, and Di Tian had already seized the initiative. The 5th rank appeared. Jialan Chuyue, who was beside him, didn't sense anything at all. Her beautiful eyes were filled with smiles. He won again. He was simply a miracle, slaughtering his way into the top 10 and would soon gain the attention of the lifelong Realm Lord. Another round of silence. For the remaining 6 participants, none of them took the initiative to step out. It was like they were waiting for others to step out to challenge them. Right now, even if they didn't participate in the battles, they would still be able to advance. After Di Tian entered the top 10, he was now ranked number 6. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled as he stared at the platform. A look of interest could be seen on his face as he spoke to the person beside him. From the voices below, it seems that this person isn't someone from a major power in Lifelong City. Is that right? At this moment, Di Tian's expression changed. He felt a wave of numbness. His blood seemed to have stopped flowing. The energy in his body had no way to circulate smoothly. Clearly, the poison had already invaded his body unknowingly. Di Tian returned to his seat and closed his eyes to rest. Next, he would be facing the final battle. This battle would also be the most dangerous one. The first 2 didn't cause anyone to be too surprised. Xianyuan Tiangang had always been a famous Empyrean in Lifelong City, and Sword Ion had been famous for a long time. In the Sword Spirit sect, his fame was on par with the number 1 governor of the northern region, Xiaoyu. It wasn't surprising that the 2 of them could enter the top 3. But Di Tian, a mid-stage immortal emperor that no one knew about before, actually managed to reach this step. This was simply a miracle. With regards to this battle, Di Tian was very confident. The reason why he chose the Saint Poison's disciple was very simple. It was because he was impervious to all poisons. Jialan Yuntian didn't feel any joy because of Di Tian's victory. He was still pondering over the question earlier. Why would Di Tian compromise with the Jialan clan? He could even defeat the Saint Child of the Heaven Dragon clan. With such talent, what was his purpose in staying in Lifefire City? As this battle concluded, the rankings for the top 10 were determined. Not only were the spectators sighing in their hearts, even those experts who remained on the towering platforms were shocked by this battle. Before this, the tyrannical attitude Di Tian displayed was still fresh in their minds. For those who couldn't accept that his cultivation base was lower than theirs, he would directly challenge them. How confident was that? Right now, they clearly couldn't treat him as a mid-stage immortal emperor anymore. Upon seeing the change in Di Tian's expression, the Saint Poison's disciple lifted his palm as a terrifying black palm appeared. His silhouette flashed as a towering poison chi gushed forth, instantly appearing before Di Tian. After that, he blasted out with killing intent. In an instant, a myriad of poisons erupted forth, gushing into Di Tian's body. The Saint Poison's disciple simply didn't dare to imagine that this lofty mid-stage immortal emperor genius would actually be so careless. He couldn't even withstand a single strike. Naturally, if one didn't have enough strength to intimidate others, it was impossible for them to survive until now. If they were truly weak, there would have been people who would have long since challenged them and eliminated them. But at this moment, the Saint Poison's disciples suddenly sensed something. There seemed to be a formless white light radiating from Tion's body that could incinerate all poison chi. The poison that gushed into Tion's body was instantly evaporated into nothingness. His expression abruptly changed. After that, Tion's palms slammed down on his body. In an instant, a terrifying sealing law energy frenziedly rushed into his body, sealing all the energy in his body. Chapter 1622. Xinyuan Tiangang, Sword Ion and Tion each occupied a corner. Only 2 more battles were needed before the rankings of the top 10 would be determined. You can go down now. Sword Ion glanced at Tion as he spoke. His eyes gleamed with sharpness, gleaming with a sword intent. Tion glanced at him. This Sword Ion's ability was similar to Xiao Yu's. Qin Wentian had experienced it before. He calmly spoke, "You are not my opponent. If you don't wish to go down, you can challenge him. Maybe you will still have a glimmer of hope." Many people were stunned when they heard Tion's words. This fellow was too arrogant. Sword Ion wanted him to concede, yet he said that Sword Ion wasn't his opponent and wanted him to challenge Xinyuan Tiangang instead? Simply crazy. Sword Ion's eyes narrowed as a cold light gleamed. His silhouette flashed as sword chi gushed forth from him. His entire body was shrouded by a supreme sword might, capable of shattering everything. He stared straight at Tion as he spoke. "Since you put it this way, I can only force you to scram." Tion stepped out. Seems like he still had to face 2 more battles. "Are you ready?" Sword Ion glanced at Tion as he asked. "Make your move." Tion nodded. Sword Ion's gaze was like a sharp sword, like a sword soul, directly piercing into Tion's eyes. At the same time, with a wave of his hand, a sword manifested, slashing through space. It was like a bolt of lightning, piercing through space and aiming for Tion's body, tyrannical to the extreme. Although his words were arrogant, when he truly acted, Sword Ion showed no mercy. He wanted to kill Tion in a single strike. Tion's eyes were terrifying. He didn't show any signs of weakness as he stared back at Sword Ion. Sword chi from his holy will penetrated through, like a soul attack, colliding with Sword Ion. As to why he dared to say that Sword Ion wasn't his opponent, it was because he understood Sword Ion's abilities. He could counter him. At the very least, in terms of soul attacks, Sword Ion wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. As for that tyrannical sword might that slashed over, a screen of demonic chi appeared around Tion, circulating around him. The sound of cracking sounds rang out as the attack tore through Tion's defense. But even so, the attack also vanished together with Tion. However, after he slashed out with his sword, Jian Ying didn't hold back at all. His silhouette flashed and he appeared in the air above Tion with lightning speed. He wielded his sword with both hands and slashed downwards. Numerous terrifying sword spirits manifested, aiming for Tion. This entire space was filled with a stifling sword might. Tion's sealing Dharma idol flickered as a terrifying gigantic illusory figure appeared. Its eyes shone with a terrifying sealing light that engulfed the heavens and earth, enveloping the sword spirit. Myriad soul sword technique. Sword Ion's body turned illusory as he shuttled through the air. Astral light flashed as his entire person turned illusory. He slashed out tens of thousands of sword spirits, slashing out with the myriad soul sword technique. Tion was surrounded by a boundless sword might. He had no way to dodge and could only endure this tyrannical attack. Only to see Tion folding his palms together. The constellation behind him moved together with him as a majestic sealing might bore down on him, permeating the entire space. Sealing light and sealing diagrams shot out frenziedly, drifting through the air. At the same time, a pair of gigantic sealing palms akin to the palms of gods grabbed out towards the 10,000 souls, wanting to seal them all away. Jian Ying's gaze turned heavy. His countenance was extremely tyrannical, as though a holy sword had descended from the heavens, appearing before him. Numerous sword spirits of the past seemed to originate from the primordial era, attaching themselves to him. Sword intent radiated from him, rampaging about on the battle platform. His long hair and long robes were as sharp as swords, radiating a powerful sword intent that gushed forth endlessly. When Di Tian saw this, the starry dharma behind him seemed to have become even more terrifying. The starlight that rained down from the sky gathered on it, evolving in a frenzy. Many dazzling swords of the great path appeared, ringing loudly. Di Tian stretched his finger out. In an instant, the 10,000 swords shot out in unison. The sealing swords formed from the constellation seemed to have transformed into swords of the great Tao, directly breaking through space. Thunderous sounds rang out unceasingly. The sealing swords directly pierced into the space around Jianying. In an instant, the entire space seemed to be sealed. The sealing swords fused together as one, sealing the entire space. Jianying's eyes gleamed with a resplendent sword light. His long hair fluttered in the wind as he roared loudly. The sword spirits that were attached to him radiated a myriad of sword might that shot towards Di Tian, clashing head-on against the sealing swords. The two of them collided and directly destroyed each other. However, the sealing swords seemed to be endless. They pierced through the air and fused together as one, transforming into the energy of the great Tao, resembling an extremely powerful formation. Gradually, a screen of sealing light formed from the sealing swords appeared, transforming into a supremely powerful sealing barrier. The sword spirits actually had no way to break through it, and their might continued to weaken. Di Tian's actions didn't stop. The sealing swords continued shooting out unceasingly. The sword barrier grew more and more perfect, becoming indestructible. Jianying was actually trapped within, unable to break free. "I've already said it. You're not my match." Di Tian calmly spoke. He blasted out with his palm as the countless swords on the sealing barrier pushed forward. Jianying's countenance was as pale as paper. Although the sword intent radiating from him was still incomparably powerful, he knew that his defeat was already decided. There was no way he could reverse the situation. "I admit defeat." Jianying's eyes turned dispirited as he admitted defeat. In an instant, his entire body radiating sharpness seemed to have aged. His long hair was no longer as dazzling as before. Instead, it drooped limply, drifting with the wind. The supremely powerful expert of the sword spirit sect, Jianying, actually didn't even have time to unleash his supreme swordplay and was already defeated by Di Tian's attack. This caused everyone to be dumbfounded. Could it be that this mid-stage immortal emperor from Lifire City wanted to obtain the #1 position in this banquet? Di Tian waved his hand, dispelling the sealing barrier as he released Jianying. Jianying was incomparably dispirited as he walked to the side. Di Tian directly turned his gaze over to Xianyuan Tiangang. "There's only one last battle left." Xianyuan Tiangang stepped out. A look of shock could be seen in his eyes when he stared at Di Tian. He then smiled. "I didn't expect that the person fighting against me at the end would actually be a mid-stage immortal emperor. The affairs of the world are hard to predict. If everything goes according to everyone's expectations, wouldn't it be too boring?" Di Tian calmly spoke. Everyone deeply agreed. Maybe, such an unexpected battle would cause people to feel a sense of novelty. The people of the world loved to see the rise of geniuses. In the future, if this Di Tian became a major character of the lifelong realm, this battle would surely become the start of a legend, the battle that made him famous. However, there were some who were happy while others were sad. For some people from the Lifire Palace like Xia Ho and Fairy Violet Moon, they didn't like this unexpected situation at all. Given Di Tian's strength, if he was in the Lifire Palace, other than the Lifire Empyrean, no one would be able to suppress him. "Hi, you're right. Since this is the case, you have to be careful in the next battle." "I'll do my best." Xianyuan Tiangang stared at Di Tian. His aura was tyrannical as resplendent astral light descended from the sky. In an instant, a terrifying astral wind gusted around Xianyuan Tiangang, wanting to tear apart everything, forming a supremely strong heavenly barrier that was indestructible. Di Tian's earlier battle against the Jianying still hadn't dissipated. He directly challenged Xinyuan Tiangang again. Terrifying sealing light gushed forth as numerous sealing swords shot out. Xinyuan Tiangang lifted his palms. In an instant, the heavenly barrier around him shone with a resplendent golden light. In just an instant, countless divine weapons erupted forth, slamming into the sealing swords, shattering everything. Between the two of them, an explosion of light could be seen. Di Tian only saw Xinyuan Tiangang blasting out a metallic fist light. With this punch, millions of fragments of divine weapons could destroy everything, blasting out together with the fist light, wanting to tear apart the heavens and earth, tyrannical to the extreme. The power of his fist was comparable to the attacks of divine weapons, containing boundless might. Incineration transformation. Di Tian's bloodline frenziedly erupted as a terrifying demonic qi gushed forth. Xinyuan Tiangang's attack was too tyrannical, capable of destroying the sealing energy. He had to use absolute strength to defend against it. In an instant, his aura skyrocketed once more, causing the spectators to be stunned. How many trump cards does this fellow have exactly? Similarly, Di Tian punched out, the roar of a dragon could be heard, as well as the might of a divine elephant that could suppress the heavens and earth. The phantom of the pig demon pierced through the space created by the tyrannical and sharp divine weapon and was riddled with holes. However, Di Tian's fist still collided with the tyrannical fist of the pig demon. A thunderous rumbling sound rang out in the air, as though space itself was about to explode. A terrifying sealing energy directly gushed into Xinyuan Tiangang's body, and similarly, a destructive divine weapon energy gushed into Di Tian's body. Di Tian's eyes were extremely terrifying. The constellation behind him unceasingly shot out sealing swords and sealing diagrams. Xinyuan Tiangang's aura was similarly tyrannical to the extreme. He stretched out his hands as a terrifying divine weapon domain manifested. The destructive divine weapons transformed into a fearsome vortex, enveloping Di Tian within it. Even space itself was on the verge of shattering. Di Tian unceasingly formed hand seals as numerous sealing gates appeared. This time around, it wasn't just a single sealing gate, it was a row of them. Di Tian pressed his palms together as the pig sealing gate fused together, transforming into an incomparably gigantic sealing gate. From within, boundless sealing light shot out, sealing the divine weapons that shot over were all sealed within. Rumble. A thunderous sound rang out. Di Tian blasted out the sealing gate. That gigantic sealing gate directly shot towards Xinyuan Tiangang, radiating a resplendent sealing light. Xinyuan Tiangang roared and slashed out with his Heaven Destroyer great axe. However, his axe was directly sealed by the sealing gate. No matter what attack it was, it had no way to destroy it. Xinyuan Tiangang retreated, yet he only saw Di Tian stretching out his hands, directly imprinting the sealing gate into his palms. That gigantic palm imprint that resembled a divinity imprinted the sealing gate directly shot towards Xinyuan Tiangang, not allowing him to escape. Chapter 1623. This terrifying palm imprint was like the hand of a divinity, capable of destroying everything. The palm seemed to contain the great Tao. That was a gigantic gate of sealing, capable of sealing all energy. When the countless divine weapons blasted towards the palm imprint, all of them were actually sucked into the gate of sealing, unable to be blocked. Xinyuan Tiangang retreated with lightning speed. The shadow of a great rock appeared around Di Tian. The great rock spread its wings and soared with incredible speed. He instantly soared through the air. There was no way for him to evade the palm imprint. It directly slammed down, enveloping Xinyuan Tiangang within. Xinyuan Tiangang roared. A vortex of divine weapons manifested as boundless killing intent gushed forth. The incomparably sharp divine weapons frenziedly pierced into the palm imprint. That palm imprint was like a bottomless pit, capable of sealing all existences, capable of slaying gods if they obstructed it. It then slammed towards Xinyuan Tiangang. Xinyuan Tiangang unleashed his heavenly astral shield to the extreme, containing an incomparably terrifying destructive might that could slice apart everything. It clashed against the palm imprint, causing the chaotic space around them to tremble. The indestructible palm imprint was shattered, but Xinyuan Tiangong's heavenly astral shield also crumbled apart. Only to see at this moment, Di Tian blasted out another palm imprint. Xinyuan Tiangang felt despair when he saw this scene. He sighed, "I've lost." As the sound of his voice faded, the powerful palm imprint froze in the air before vanishing completely. Di Tian's silhouette flashed as he returned to his original location. He nodded to Xinyuan Tiangang, "I won by luck. A victory is a victory, there's no need to give me face. In truth, your cultivation base is at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. From the very start, I've already lost. This originally wasn't a fair battle. I'm very curious about who you are exactly." Xinyuan Tiangang calmly spoke. He had always thought of himself as extraordinary and felt that his talent was extremely high. He was a character that stood at the peak of the Xinyuan clan. Even in the entire lifelong city, there weren't many immortal emperors who could win against him. Maybe only a few Empyrean governors would be able to fight against him. He didn't expect that he would be defeated by a mid-stage immortal emperor. "Lifefire City, Di Tian." Di Tian replied and didn't say anything more. Being overly humble was akin to being arrogant. Since he was the victor, there was no need for him to say too much. As Xinyuan Tiangang was defeated, this martial competition finally came to an end. The crowd who was silent earlier suddenly erupted into a fervent discussion. When the light barrier on the platform dissipated, they stared at the masked man standing on the platform as they couldn't help but to sigh in their hearts. A mid-stage immortal emperor actually obtained the position of number 1 in the lifelong banquet. This was simply a miracle. Both Xinyuan Tiangang and Sword Ion were defeated by him. No matter who it was, as long as he was able to obtain first place, there would definitely be no luck involved. It would definitely be absolute strength. This meant that Di Tian, who was at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, was already standing at the peak of the Immortal Emperor realm. It was very rare for anyone to be able to contend against him. Grandpa, he obtained the position of number 1. Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light, as though she was the one who obtained the position of number 1. Jialan Yuntian sighed in his heart. He couldn't help but to be impressed by how terrifying this Di Tian was. A mid-stage immortal emperor was already at the peak of the Immortal Emperor realm when it came to weaponsmithing. Right now, he discovered to his shock that Di Tian was also at the peak of the Immortal Emperor realm. Even he wasn't a match for Di Tian. However, if it was before, he might be happy. But right now, he felt as though there was a huge rock pressing down on his heart. Before he understood Di Tian's purpose, he wouldn't be able to be like before. "Not bad, I didn't expect Grandmaster Di to have such talent. My Jialan clan doesn't even have a single person in the top 10. I'm truly ashamed." Jialan Yunhai spoke. "Do your best to build up a good relationship with this Di Tian." Jialan Jiangshan instructed. Jialan Yuntian nodded with a look of contemplation on his face. In the direction of the Lifefire Empyrean had an unsightly expression on his face. This weaponsmithing grandmaster who was on the same side as the Jialan clan had displayed such shocking talent today. Yet, he was actually leaning towards his opponent, the Jialan clan. When he thought of this, he coldly glanced at Xia Ho, causing Xia Ho to shiver as his countenance turned pale. Was the Lifefire Empyrean venting his anger on him because Di Tian leaned towards the Jialan clan? Xia Ho stared at Di Tian on the platform as his gaze flickered with coldness. This bastard was actually so powerful. Beauty Xiao, who was at the side, had a smile on her face. Her eyes were captivating as she stared at Di Tian. She didn't expect Di Tian to be so powerful. Most probably, he wasn't any weaker compared to Qin Wenian, right? The lifelong realm lord stroked his beard and smiled. He stared at Di Tian. "My lifelong realm is truly filled with geniuses. The most outstanding person in the competition today is actually only at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. This truly broadened my horizons. Di Tian of Lifefire City, right?" "That's Junior." Di Tian nodded as he stared at the lifelong realm lord. "I've said it before. The top 10 of the competition this time around will all be rewarded by me. As for you, I've naturally made preparations as well. However, in view of your performance, I've decided to ask you a question. Do you have any requests? Do you want any rewards? The lifelong Realm Lord smiled as he asked. Junior does have a presumptuous request, but I don't know if I should say it or not. Tion replied. Feel free to speak your mind. The lifelong Realm Lord nodded. Although Junior obtained the #1 position in the competition, I'm actually more interested in the Tao of weaponsmithing. Also, in Lifefire City, I created a power named the Emperor Pavilion that specializes in weaponsmithing. After that, I started auctioning weapons and eventually developed it into a transaction pavilion and auction house. However, in the process of development, I encountered many obstructions. In fact, the governor's manner deliberately made things difficult for me for no reason, causing Junior to have a headache. Tion slowly spoke. As the sound of his voice faded, Xia Ho felt his entire body stiffening as his countenance instantly paled. This bastard wouldn't take this chance to complain to the Realm Lord, right? There's actually such a thing? The governor of Lifefire City? How did he make things difficult for you? The lifelong Realm Lord asked. Back then, a certain governor of Lifefire City wanted this Junior to specially forge weapons for him, deliberately making things difficult for me for no reason. At that time, there was a mysterious power causing trouble in my Emperor Pavilion, but the governor's manner didn't care at all, causing my Emperor Pavilion to be unable to sustain itself. Now that I think about it, I still feel a sense of lingering fear. Junior isn't here to complain. I only hope that in the future, I can focus on developing my own power. Tion politely spoke. Upon hearing this, Xia Ho wanted nothing more than to kill Tion on the spot. Wasn't this considered a complaint? The Lifefire Empyrean's eyes narrowed. Although Tion's words didn't implicate him, as long as the Realm Lord thought about it, he would be able to link it to him. Was Tion doing this intentionally or unintentionally? Your talent in the martial path is so outstanding, yet you say that you are more interested in weaponsmithing? How many people have you mocked with your words? The lifelong Realm Lord calmly spoke. Everyone nodded silently. This fellow was too good at acting, yet he still had a serious expression on his face. However, everyone in Lifefire City knew that Tion's weaponsmithing abilities were truly impressive. This time around, I should have heavily rewarded you. But since you brought this up, I'll announce that from now onwards, your Emperor Pavilion will be unobstructed in the lifelong realm. As long as you don't break the rules of the 9 World Palaces, if anyone dares to create trouble, you can directly look for the 9 World Palace Lords. In addition, to compensate for the trouble you suffered, the Emperor Pavilion doesn't need to pay any tribute in the future. The lifelong Realm Lord calmly spoke, his words causing the hearts of many major powers to tremble. As expected of the Realm Lord, this reward was truly heavy. A single sentence from him ensured that the Emperor Pavilion would be unobstructed in the lifelong realm in the future. In addition, there would be no need to pay any tribute. For the current Emperor Pavilion, 100 years of tribute wasn't considered much. But what if it was 1,000 years or 10,000 years? What if the Emperor Pavilion grew even stronger and expanded into more major powers? In that case, the amount of tribute would surely be terrifying, far surpassing the original rewards. Naturally, to the Realm Lord, this wasn't considered much at all. As long as he was happy, this reward was merely a hair from 9 oxen. This Tion was truly intelligent. Jialon Yuntian's expression froze when he heard this. With the Realm Lord personally speaking, even if Tion fell out with them, the Jialon clan wouldn't dare to make things difficult for him. This was simply a golden token that would allow them to avoid death. Also, I'll grant you the status of the supervisory commander of Lifefire City. In the future, if the governor's manor dares to make things difficult for their subordinates or violate the responsibilities of the governor's manor, you can directly report to the Lifefire Empyrean. If the Lifefire Empyrean doesn't deal with it, you can report to the Lifelong Saint Hall. The Realm Lord spoke again, his words causing everyone to be shocked. At this moment, Governor Xia Ho's expression was as unsightly as it could be. With the Realm Lord's words, in the future, all the governors in Lifefire City would have to act according to his mood. If not, Once he found out anything, he would directly report it to the lifelong Saint Hall to deal with it. Skipping the Liefire Empyrean, this authority was truly transcendent. Seems like the benefits the Realm Lord promised Tion earlier was to pave the way for this moment, giving him the status of an official, paving the way for him to be used in the future. The hearts of everyone were as clear as a mirror. The Realm Lord wanted to use Tion. In the future, this Tion's future is limitless. Someone felt very optimistic about Tion's future. His performance in this battle was outstanding and he had already gained the Realm Lord's favor. In the future, as long as his cultivation base improved, he would surely be able to ascend to the heavens and become a powerful character in the lifelong realm. Jialan Yuntian felt another impact. He himself didn't know what the situation would be like when Tion returned to Liefire City. Right now, most probably, even the Liefire Empyrean would be extremely polite to him. Many thanks, Realm Lord. Tion bowed. In that case, do you accept? The Realm Lord smiled. Tion naturally won't let down the Realm Lord's love. Tion smiled as he replied. Such a good thing. If he rejected it, he would truly be a fool. The lifelong Realm Lord's words earlier were sufficient to allow him to do whatever he wanted in Liefire City. No one would dare to antagonize him anymore. Chapter 1624. Reality also proved the guesses of everyone. For the top 10 rankers, other than Tion, although the others all received rewards, none of them received the treatment Tion received. The Realm Lord personally asked him what reward he wanted. Even Xianyuan Tiangang didn't receive such treatment. What sort of character was the Realm Lord? He was the overlord of the lifelong realm, a character that stood at the peak. He himself was a supreme character and had seen all sorts of geniuses before. So what if the Realm Lord was a supreme immortal emperor? It was already a great honor to be rewarded by him. There were definitely not many people who could gain the admiration of the Realm Lord. This Tion suppressed everyone with his cultivation base at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm and was also a Grandmaster weaponsmith. No wonder the Realm Lord treated him differently. If they didn't use such a genius, who else could they use? After this battle, Tion's name would surely circulate through Lifelong City. In fact, it might even spread to the capital cities of the 9 world palaces. This was especially so for Liefire City. They would definitely receive this news and there would surely be a huge commotion. After receiving the rewards, everyone returned to their positions. Tion returned to the crowd of the Jialan clan. Jialan Chuyue giggled when she saw him returning. Grandmaster D, you have truly concealed yourself deeply. She deliberately emphasized the word, Great Master. Her bright eyes contained a smile, tender and amiable, very moving. I've never hidden anything. Tion laughed and sat down. Jialan Yuntian didn't feel as excited as he imagined. His heart was pounding but there was still a smile in his eyes. Grandmaster D, after this battle, the Emperor Pavilion will soar up into the heavens. In the future, if you need the Jialan clan for anything, feel free to speak. Before this, the Jialan clan wanted to control Tion. But now, they clearly no longer had such thoughts. Right now, there was no one who could control Tion. The lifelong Realm Lord has personally spoken, even the Liefire Empyrean can forget about doing anything to him. In that case, we might have to trouble the Jialan clan in the future. Tion naturally understood the meaning behind Jialan Yuntian's words. He could also sense the change in Jialan Yuntian's attitude, but he still maintained his composure as though he didn't know anything. Don't worry about it. My Jialan clan is friends with Grandmaster Qin. In addition, there's also that last Qiuyu. Jialan Yuntian laughed. His words caused Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes to flash. She glared at Jialan Yunan. Grandmaster, what nonsense are you talking about? Is that so? Who was the one who stood up in excitement earlier? A certain someone here is a mid-stage female immortal emperor and is the golden daughter of my Tian? She is a disgrace. Jialan Yuntian laughed. Jialan Chuyue blushed, exuding an alluring charm. She who was originally already extremely beautiful was now even more charming. She even pretended to be angry as she glared at Jalan Yuntum. Di Tian smiled. This Jalan Yuntian was trying to lean on him, clearly using Jalan Chuyue to make a fuss. His intentions were clear even without saying. This seat is extremely gratified to see the glory of the immortal emperors of my lifelong realm. Everyone, let's have a toast. Di and Tiontankama, of them. Di, the saint, the Tian, of the realm lord, the Tian, Abel, the laughed. An elder smiled. He was the leader of a major power, an existence on the same level as the Empyrean, a half-step world overlord. That's right. If everyone participated in the battle, it would be even more exciting, someone added. If that's the case, I'm afraid only a few of the top 10 of the martial arts tournament will be able to stay. Everyone casually laughed and chatted. Everyone naturally knew what they were referring to. In the earlier battle, there were many immortal emperors who didn't participate. In addition, many of them were Empyrean-level immortal emperors. Those immortal emperors under the lifelong realm lord didn't participate. Seems like you guys are impatient to see their strength. The lifelong realm lord laughed. Those people nodded. Someone spoke. Realm lord, if they fight, it would surely be even more fascinating, right? This has been the case in the past. Realm lord, please let us broaden our horizons as soon as possible. Sure. The lifelong realm lord smiled and nodded. My lifelong realm governs a vast and boundless territory. Other than lifelong city, the other territories are managed by the 9 world palaces. The various monarchs of the 9 world palaces will guard the territories for me. This is the reason why the lifelong realm is so prosperous. I will only gather everyone once every 100 years on this day. Let's take this opportunity to see how strong everyone is. Does any of the palace lords have any objections? The 9 world palace lords spoke at the same time. We obey palace lord's order. Although you guys already have a very good understanding of your subordinates, you can also see the disparity in strength between the various world palaces. You can then urge your world palaces to grow stronger and better guard the territories for me. The lifelong realm lord continued. Come, the governors and monarchs of the 9 world palaces, prepare yourselves. Let me see the glory of the heroes of our lifelong realm. Yes, realm lord. Many people called out loudly. To those powerful characters, they knew that this was their chance to perform. If they could leave a good impression in front of the realm lord, it would be extremely meaningful to them in the future. As for those weaker characters, they felt some trepidation. After all, the experts under the 9 world palace lords were as many as the clouds. This wasn't the first time they experienced this. If they were the slightest bit careless, they would surely lose face. I'm sure everyone knows the rules. The 9 world palace lords will be in charge of the battles. Let's begin. The lifelong realm lord calmly spoke. After that, the 9 world palace lords glanced at each other as their eyes gleamed with sharpness. This time around, this was a competition between the subordinates of the 9 world palaces. The 9 world palace lords naturally didn't wish for their subordinates to lose face in front of the lifelong realm lord. Di Tian quietly sat there. He saw an expert from each of the world palaces standing up. After that, 9 figures soared through the air, flying towards the towering platform in the center where he fought earlier. The 9 of them would form a group. Between them, there would be many clashes before the victor would be determined. The person who walked out from the Lifefire Palace was none other than the Jalan monarch. Does he want to give up on the first battle? Di Tian's eyes flashed. Although the Jalan monarch was a supreme immortal emperor and could fight against peak-stage immortal emperors when he was only at the mid-stage, the other immortal emperors of the 9 world palaces weren't ordinary either. Their cultivation bases were all at the peak stage of the immortal emperor realm, and their combat prowess was extraordinary. The Jalan monarch was at an absolute disadvantage in terms of cultivation base. Desolate Heaven Palace, Governor Mo Kaishan. Xinyuan Palace, Monarch Xinyuanyu. Everyone reported their names and origins. All 9 of them did so without exception. After that, they each stood in their own positions and started to take turns to battle. For the first battle, Governor Mo Kaishan of the desolate Heaven City challenged the Jialan monarch, wanting to take advantage of the Jialan monarch's lower cultivation base. Although the Jialan monarch was strong, he was still suppressed by Mo Kaishan and was directly defeated. For the second battle, Xian Yuanyu also challenged the Jialan monarch. This caused everyone to be stunned. Seems like the Jialan monarch was a mid-stage immortal emperor who was easy to bully. The ending was naturally Xian Yuanyu's victory. For the next battle, everyone was speechless to discover that everyone challenged the Jialan monarch. This caused the people of the Jialan clan to feel extremely humiliated. The Li-Fire Emperor's countenance was also extremely unsightly. The immortal emperors of the otherworld palaces didn't give his Li-Fire palace any face at all. For this battle, he sent the Jialan monarch up precisely because he wanted the Jialan monarch to lose face and forfeit this battle. However, he didn't expect that his face would be smacked like this. Right now, not only did the Jialan monarch lose face, the Li-Fire Emperor also felt that his face had been smacked. The battles of the various experts all stopped when the victor was determined. They didn't injure the Jialan monarch. The rules also allowed them to challenge the same person consecutively. Hence, the final ending was that the Jialan monarch lost all 8 battles and was directly eliminated, locking in at the bottom of the rankings. Even so, he had no choice but to stand at the edge of the platform and watch the battles of the others. The lifelong Realm Lord glanced in the direction of the Jialan clan, but he shifted his gaze away an instant later. The battles continued. These chaotic battles were naturally extremely fascinating. This was especially so for the transcendent-level immortal emperors from the desolate Heaven Palace, Xinyuan Palace and Sky Air Palace. Their battles were simply heaven-shaking and their might was comparable to the top 3 rankers in the martial competition earlier. Finally, Mo Kaishan of the desolate Heaven Palace won all 8 battles and was ranked number 1. The Supreme Immortal Emperor of the Sky Air Palace won 7 battles and was ranked number 2. The Supreme Immortal Emperor of the Xinyuan Palace won 6 battles and was ranked number 3. The Li-Fire Palace was ranked at the bottom. From the first battle, Di Tian could already faintly see some clues. The strength of a world palace wasn't merely determined by the palace lords, it was also determined by the subordinates of the palace lords. This was the first round of the battle. After the 9 experts returned to their respective positions, another 9 experts from the 9 world palaces stepped onto the battle platform, starting the second round of the battle. Similarly, the ranking of the 9 world palaces would also be determined in this round. In the end, the results of the battles of the 9 world palaces would be stacked together to determine the ranking of the 9 world palaces in the martial competition. The second round of battles was also extremely fascinating and violent. Di Tian didn't recognize the experts from the other world palaces, but the Li-Fire City sent out the central governor Xiaohou. Although Xiaohou was tyrannical and arrogant, his combat prowess was also very powerful. He was a transcendent-level immortal emperor, but even so, he only managed to obtain 4 victories and 4 defeats for the Li-Fire Palace and was ranked number 5. Although it couldn't be considered very glorious, it wasn't embarrassing either. For the second round of battles, the Sky Air Palace won a city and was ranked number 1 with 8 consecutive victories. The battles were still extremely intense. As the battles continued, the spectators also entered a state of mind, spectating the fascinating battles. Many people chatted as they watched, discussing the situation. This time around, the Li-Fire Palace is in for it. Most probably, it would be hard for them to obtain the number 1 ranking again. Jialan Chuyue spoke in a low voice. It was very difficult to obtain the number 1 ranking. They had to have a supreme immortal emperor that could dominate the battlefield. However, the Li-Fire Palace didn't have such a character. This is also normal. The desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace, Xinyuan Palace, which of the world palaces aren't extremely powerful? The immortal emperors of their world palaces are naturally extremely powerful as well. If the Li-Fire Palace wants to defeat the people from the other world palaces and obtain the number 1 ranking, it might sound simple, but in truth, it's as difficult as ascending the heavens. The Li-Fire Palace doesn't have a single palace lord or monarch with such capabilities. Jialan Yuntian spoke. That person who didn't come, can he do it? Jialan Chiyue suddenly thought of that arrogant and handsome face as she asked. Chapter 1625. Jialan Yuntian naturally knew who Jialan Chiyue was referring to. In truth, they brought Yi Qinyu here from the Li-Fire Palace precisely because of that person. Although the Li-Fire Palace wanted to conceal the news of Yi Qinyu, it was impossible to do so. After these people returned to Li-Fire City, the news would surely be circulated to that person's ears. Jialan Yuntian naturally knew how strong that person who was stopped by Li-Fire City was. He was only at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm, yet he managed to kill so many Immortal Emperors at the ancient river auction house, including several peak-stage Immortal Emperors. This caused a huge commotion in Li-Fire City, exuding boundless magnificence. Given his talent, even in such a battlefield he should still be able to fight. Jialan Yuntian couldn't help but to compare Di Tian with that governor. Di Tian was a peak-stage weaponsmith grandmaster. His combat prowess was also at the peak. It seemed that he was even more outstanding compared to that governor. Even that person wouldn't be able to do this. Back then at the ancient river auction house, even if there were peak-stage immortal emperors among them, they were still ordinary ones. What sort of existences are these people? They are all supreme emperors from the 9 world palaces. Each of them has peak-stage combat prowess. Xia Ho is the central governor. How strong is he? However, in that battle, he only managed to obtain the 5th ranking. From this, one can very well imagine how terrifying this battlefield is. Jialan Yuntian spoke in a low voice. The battle between the 9 world palaces was much more intense compared to the martial competition earlier. All of them were elites. Big brother, who are you guys talking about? Jialan Yunhai, who was at the side, laughed. A governor under the Li-Fire Empyrean. He captured the daughter of the Knight Empyrean and imprisoned her in the Li-Fire jail because he wanted to control that governor to deal with us. This time around, we brought Yi Qinyu to Lifelong City because we want to create a rift between them. Jialan Yuntian transmitted his voice over. So it's because of a governor. Is he really so powerful? Jialan Yunhai curiously asked. Li-Fire City already had a Grandmaster D. How could a governor be so powerful as well? Very powerful. He is also a mid-stage immortal emperor and killed over 10 immortal emperors in a single battle. All of them were mid-stage or peak-stage immortal emperors. As for how strong he is exactly, we have no idea. He basically didn't unleash his true strength. Interesting. Jialan Yunhai laughed. In the competition between the 9 world palaces, which world palace do you think will have the best ranking? If there are no unexpected accidents, the Desolate Heaven Palace's overall ranking should be the best. After all, they have been the best for 300 years now. Jialan Yuntian spoke in a low voice. That's right. The Desolate Heaven Palace is simply too powerful. It's one thing for the palace lord to be powerful, but he's also extremely strict with his subordinates. The people he selects to be commanders and emperors have to be the strongest in terms of combat power. He personally selects them, and if someone stronger than them appears, they can replace them at any time. Under such competition, the commanders and emperors under him are all the strongest. However, that disciple of the Realm Lord seems to be unwilling to accept this. This time around, he came prepared and seems to be targeting the Desolate Heaven Palace. Jialan Yunhai laughed. The Sky Air Palace's performance this time around is truly eye-catching. The Xinyuan Palace isn't weak either. The Gemini Palace and Dragon Saddle Palace aren't here to play around. Look at the commanders and monarchs they sent out, all of them are very powerful. Seems like the Li-Fire Palace, Kungvada Palace and Zhengmetal Palace are going to be ranked last again. Jialan Yuntian laughed. The foundations of these 3 world palaces had always been the weakest. The positions of their palace lords weren't that stable. Their Jialan clan has always been eyeing the position of the Li-Fire Empyrean. However, they didn't even dare to think about the Desolate Heaven Palace and Sky Air Palace. Even for the Dragon Saddle Palace, Gemini Palace and Scarlet Origin Palace, they didn't dare to think about it. The battles continued, round after round, extremely intense. For the competition between the 9 world palaces, each world palace would choose 14 people to participate. Without exception, all of them were governors and monarchs. Hence, there were a total of 14 rounds of battles. When the battles reached the 9th round, the desolate Heaven Palace had already obtained 3 first rankers, 2 second rankers, 1 third ranker, 1 fourth ranker, and 1 fifth ranker. Such a terrifying ranking undoubtedly indicated that the desolate Heaven Palace was the strongest among the 9 world palaces. Next was the Sky Air Palace, followed by the Xianyuan Palace, Gemini Palace, and Dragon Saddle Palace. The Sky Air Palace obtained 2 first rankers, the Xianyuan Palace, Gemini Palace, and Dragon Saddle Palace each obtained 1. The other 4 world palaces didn't manage to obtain a single first ranker. For the 9th round of battles, it seemed that they still didn't have much hope. The Livefire Empyrean's expression was extremely heavy and unsightly to behold. Although he knew that the situation wasn't optimistic for the 9 world palaces, he didn't expect it to be so miserable. In such a situation, with the Realm Lord watching from above, how could he smile? He could only maintain a heavy expression. In addition, D. Tion's dazzling performance earlier, obtaining the first ranker with a mid-stage Immortal Emperor cultivation. It would be strange if the Livefire Empyrean was in a good mood. Zhuge Xiong, go out for the next battle and see if you can obtain the first ranker. The Livefire Empyrean spoke in a low voice to the Grand Governor beside him. As the Grand Governor of the Livefire City, Zhuge Xiong's strength was naturally extremely powerful. Your subordinate will definitely do his best. Zhuge Xiong replied. The Livefire Empyrean nodded, glancing at the Realm Lord. The Realm Lord's expression didn't change at all. He still had a faint smile on his face as he watched the battles of his subordinates. The battle between the 9 world palaces could be considered a military parade for the lifelong realm. It was much more important compared to the martial competition earlier. These people were all his subordinates. The 9 world palaces of the lifelong realm and their subordinates were all his subordinates. For the 9th round of battles, the first ranker was the Gemini Palace. The governor that walked out from the Gemini Palace was extremely powerful. Right now, the Gemini Palace obtained 2 first rankers equal to the Sky Air Palace. This caused many to feel surprised. After 9 people came down, another 9 went up. For the Livefire Empyrean's side, Zhuge Xiong stepped out. The reason why the Livefire Empyrean arranged for Zhuge Xiong to fight at the end was because he wanted to catch his opponents off guard. The other world palaces were all doing their best to obtain the first ranker. For the 10th round, the characters they sent out should be weaker. However, he actually sent out his most powerful Grand Governor. But as the battles erupted, the Livefire Empyrean's expression swiftly changed. Evidently, for the other 4 world palaces that didn't obtain the first ranker, 3 of them sent out powerful characters with the same thoughts, wanting to obtain the first ranker. Finally, Zhuge Xiong was defeated by a supreme immortal emperor from the Scarlet Origin Palace. That immortal emperor was extremely powerful. He was the strongest character in the Scarlet Origin Palace. And as expected, the first ranker of the 10th round was obtained by the Scarlet Origin Palace. Right now, only the Livefire Palace, Kungvatar Palace, and Zhengmetal Palace were left. The expressions of the 3 palace lords were all extremely unsightly. There were a total of 4 rounds of battles left. If they couldn't obtain the first ranker in the 14 rounds, it would be extremely embarrassing no matter how they looked at it. As long as they obtained the first ranker, they would be able to maintain some face. Zhuge Xiong walked down the platform and came to the side of the Livefire Empyrean. He bowed. Your subordinate has failed Palace Lord's expectations. The Livefire Empyrean waved his hands. You can't be blamed. Just sit down. Zhuge Xiong nodded, but he still felt somewhat dispirited. He was actually defeated. This time around, he was aiming for the first ranker. Palace Lord. The 2 beauties beside the Livefire Empyrean, the Purple Moon Immortal Emperor, also stared at him with a frown. From now on, it would be extremely difficult for the Livefire Palace to obtain the first ranker. In Qiu, you can go. The Livefire Empyrean waved his hand. For the 11th round, Yin Qiu only obtained the 6th rank, a very poor ranking. As for the first ranker, it was already taken by the Kungvuda Palace. The Li-Fire Empyrean glanced at the Kungvuda Palace Lord. The gloominess on the Kungvuda Empyrean's face instantly vanished as a radiant smile appeared on his face. He was currently happily welcoming his subordinates back in victory. They finally obtained the first ranker. The expressions of the Li-Fire Empyrean and Zhengmetal Empyrean grew increasingly unsightly. Only their 2 world palaces remained. The 12th and 13th round of battles continued. The Li-Fire Empyrean sent out 2 powerful monarchs, but without exception, both of them returned in defeat. What made the Li-Fire Empyrean even more embarrassed was that in the 13th round, the Zhengmetal Palace obtained the first ranker. Right now, among the 9 world palaces, only his Li-Fire Palace didn't obtain the first ranker. As for the final round, as the climax of the grand show, those powerful world palaces would definitely fight for it. Hence, they would definitely send out a powerful character to battle. Even the Li-Fire Empyrean himself understood that the Li-Fire Palace had no hope at all. The Li-Fire Empyrean could already sense that many people were looking at him with pity in their eyes, as well as a few hints of mockery. This was especially so for those world palace lords. They didn't even bother to mask the mockery in their eyes. Yi Kong, do your best to win this battle. The Sky Air Empyrean calmly spoke. You only have a few opponents. After all, some of them are just here to make up the numbers. As the sound of his voice faded, the Li-Fire Empyrean's expression grew even uglier to the extreme. But facing the Sky Air Empyrean, he had no way to retort. Yi Kong is going to fight. 100 years ago, he was already an extremely dazzling character. The Li-Fire Palace is truly just here to make up the numbers. A peak power spoke in a low voice. I remember that in the previous batch, the Li-Fire Palace didn't manage to obtain the first ranker. Who would have thought that it would be the same this time around? Jialon Jiangshan from the Jialon clan mocked. The Li-Fire Empyrean's eyes turned sinister. In the direction of the 9 world palaces, numerous figures flew towards the central platform. These figures all exuded a transcendent aura. Not only did the Sky Air Empyrean send out Yi Kong, the Desolate Heaven Palace and Xianyuan Palace also sent out their peak characters. The Li-Fire Empyrean glanced at Beauty Xiao, who hasn't fought yet. He sighed helplessly in his heart as he spoke in a low voice. Beauty Xiao, go ahead. Yes, Palace Lord. Beauty Xiao bowed slightly as she smiled. She didn't really care about making up the numbers. Being able to fight against the peak characters of the 9 world palaces was also a form of experience. Many people glanced at Beauty Xiao. Someone laughed. Is the Li-Fire Empyrean planning to use a honey trap to get the first ranker? Many people laughed, their gazes roaming up and down Beauty Xiao's alluring figure. Beauty Xiao's expression also changed. She snorted lightly but didn't say anything and continued moving forward. Beauty Xiao, wait a minute. At this moment, a voice rang out, causing Beauty Xiao to pause in her steps. Her beautiful eyes turned over and stared at the person who spoke. After that, her beautiful eyes flashed with an extremely mesmerizing light. This fellow actually came. Chapter 1626. From the crowd, a figure walked out. His white robes fluttered in the wind and his black hair was as black as ink. His eyes were deep and as bright as the stars. He was incomparably handsome and exuded magnificence through the generations. Just by standing there, he gave off an extraordinary aura. One could tell with a single glance that he wasn't an ordinary character. Beauty Xiao stared at the figure that appeared as a smile flickered in her eyes. Her smile grew even more radiant. This fellow really came at the right time. He actually appeared. One must know that the Li-Fire Empyrean didn't allow him to come here and intentionally made him stay in Li-Fire City. But now, he still came and appeared here at such a crucial moment. The Li-Fire Empyrean's eyes flashed with unhappiness when he saw the person who came. Coldness could be seen in his eyes. This person actually disobeyed his orders and came to Lifelong City privately. Not only that, he even appeared here. The people of the Jialon clan also froze. Staring at the person who appeared, Jialon Chuyue's eyes flashed with sharpness. This arrogant fellow actually really came. Who is he? Jialon Yunhai asked. Governor Qin Wendian of Fire City. He is also the person we were talking about earlier. Jialon Yuntian replied. The person who came was none other than Qin Wendian. On the 10,000-meter stairway the lifelong Realm Lord was on, the eyes of many figures gleamed with sharpness. In fact, there were even a few governors whose auras were about to rush out. Among them, the number 1 governor of the northern city regions, Xiao Yu, was the one in the lead. His eyes were terrifying, gleaming with sword light akin to lightning. Sword intent gushed forth from him as he clenched his fists tightly. It's him! How could Xiao Yu not recognize this person? That person who domineeringly defeated him, causing him to lose all his pride, causing him to lose face in front of the Realm Lord today, actually appeared here. Among the crowd, there were also people who had witnessed the battle in the northern city regions. Many people were whispering to each other, causing the competition between the 9 world palaces to come to a temporary halt. The appearance of this person seemed to have affected many people. Who is it? Who dares to disturb the competition between the 9 world palaces? A cold voice rang out. It came from Yi Kong from the Sky Air Palace, who had already walked up the central platform. Fire Palace, do you still want to fight? If you don't want to fight, just retreat. Originally, you are just here to make up the numbers, it doesn't matter whether you fight or not. An expert from the Dragon Saddle Palace mocked, his words causing the Fire Empyrean's expression to turn even more unsightly. He stared at Qin Wendian. I ordered you to stay in Fire City and guard a region. Don't cause any trouble. Who allowed you to come to Lifelong City privately? Qin Wendian could see the coldness in the Fire Empyrean's eyes. He naturally understood that ever since the Fire Empyrean imprisoned Yi Qinyu to control him, it was already destined that the Fire Empyrean was only making use of him. Right now, Yi Qinyu appeared in Lifelong City. If the Fire Empyrean had no way to control Qin Wendian through Yi Qinyu, he would definitely be worried that Qin Wendian would cause trouble. In addition, this place was the grand banquet in Lifelong City and the Realm Lord was there. If Qin Wendian was too outstanding and attracted the attention of the Realm Lord like Di Tian, it would be even harder for the Fire Empyrean to control him. The Fire Empyrean clearly didn't want to see Qin Wendian breaking free from his control. Reporting to Palace Lord, the matters in Fire City have already been settled. I heard that in Lifelong City, the Realm Lord personally organized a grand banquet to welcome the heroes of the 9 world palaces and the Lifelong Realm. My heart was filled with admiration and I came here to take a look. I hope Palace Lord can forgive me. Qin Wendian bowed slightly, appearing extremely humble. After that, he continued, I didn't expect that after coming here, I would see people from the other world palaces bullying my Fire Palace. Qin Wendian beseeches Palace Lord to allow Beauty Xiao to come down. This subordinate wishes to participate in this battle. Qin Wendian spoke. A moment later, everyone knew of his identity. So it turned out that he was a governor of the Fire Palace and wanted to participate in this battle. However, he was just a mid-stage immortal emperor governor. What could he do? The eyes of the experts on the central platform flashed with mockery. Qin Wendian simply didn't know what was good for him. As expected of the Fire Palace. Nonsense. You are just a mid-stage immortal emperor, what are you trying to do? Come over and sit down. Leave this battle to Beauty Xiao. The Fire Empyrean berated. Clearly he didn't want Qin Wendian to participate in this battle. Although this subordinate isn't talented, I can't allow these people to humiliate my Fire Palace. Qin Wendian once again requests to participate in this battle. I hope Palace Lord can grant my request. Qin Wendian spoke. Fire Empyrean, this subordinate of yours is truly interesting. The Sky Air Empyrean calmly spoke. Are all the governors of the Fire Palace so weak? In the earlier battles, the Fire Palace only managed to obtain the battle result of number 2. Right now, a mid-stage immortal emperor actually stood out. It's like they can't do anything without him. How laughable. Another person mocked. Most probably, the Lifefire Palace truly has no more people to send out. On the towering platform, the people from the various world palaces were all extremely unhappy that Qin Wenyan interrupted the last round of battles. I once challenged 4 governors in the northern city regions of Lifelong City and won all 4 battles. Although there weren't any governors from Lifelong City participating in the 9 world palaces battle, everyone should ask yourselves if you can win against the governors from Lifelong City. How dare you be so arrogant and look down on others? So what if you are a mid-stage immortal emperor? Have you all forgotten about the cultivation base of the top ranker in the martial competition earlier? Qin Wenyan flicked his sleeves as he arrogantly spoke. In an instant, the eyes of many gleamed with sharpness. The voices of discussion grew louder and louder, gradually turning into an uproar. He is that mysterious young man who challenged the 4 governors in the northern city regions. This man even defeated Governor Xiao Yu before. He's extremely powerful. I personally witnessed that battle. Numerous voices rang out, causing the gazes of everyone to turn to Xiao Yu. Even the eyes of the people from the Lifefire Palace gleamed with sharpness as they stared at Qin Wenyan in shock. This fellow actually came to Lifelong City before this and consecutively challenged 4 governors, including the genius Governor Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu's expression was extremely unsightly. Numerous gazes turned to him, causing him to clench his fists tightly, feeling extremely ashamed. Do you dare to fight again? Xiao Yu's gaze penetrated through the void, staring at Qin Wenyan. His eyes were extremely terrifying as he stood up. This voice undoubtedly confirmed that the mysterious expert who defeated the 4 governors of the northern domain was none other than the person in front of him. What was even more shocking was that this young man was actually just a governor of the Lifefire Palace, a mid-stage immortal emperor. Such an expert, why didn't the Lifefire Empyrean allow him to fight? How can it be him? Jialan Chuyue's beautiful eyes flashed. Not long ago, Di Tian obtained first place in the martial competition. At that time, she felt that there was no way for Qin Wenyan to compare with Di Tian. Di Tian was a grandmaster weaponsmith, the top ranker in the martial competition. Also, he was only a mid-stage immortal emperor. However, Qin Wenyan appeared and he had another identity. He was the mysterious young man who defeated the 4 governors, including Xiao Yu. Before this, they had even discussed this matter. That mysterious young man was none other than the arrogant and loathsome Lifefire Empyrean. Jialan Yuntian's expression also changed, feeling extremely shocked. Not only did he greatly underestimate Di Tian, he also seemed to have underestimated Qin Wenyan. Bastard. The Lifefire Empyrean cursed in his heart. While he was shocked by Qin Wenyan's strength, he also felt something strange. This Qin Wenyan seemed to have long since made preparations. He would definitely appear before the Realm Lord today and perform well. If not, the northern city regions wouldn't have challenged Xiao Yu and the other 3 governors. He could already sense that this Qin Wenyan was gradually walking out of his control. Xia Ho In Qiu, the Jialan monarch, and the others all had ugly expressions on their faces. None of them had a favorable impression of Qin Wenyan. In fact, there was even some conflict between them. Only Beauty Xiao was happy. When she heard this news, her gaze when she looked at Qin Wenyan grew brighter. This fellow actually defeated the 4 governors of Lifelong City before. There's no need to continue fighting. If I have offended you in any way, I hope that Governor Xiao won't take offense. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke to Xiao Yu, his words causing Xiao Yu's expression to turn even more unsightly. Palace Lord, Qin Wenyan requests to fight. Qin Wenyan bowed to the Lifefire Empyrean. The Lifefire Empyrean glanced at everyone. He could see the lifelong Realm Lord's gaze landing on him. He understood in his heart that in such a situation, he had no choice but to allow Qin Wenyan to fight. It would be illogical. Qin Wenyan, seems like your strength has improved again. Since this is the case, you can go. The Lifefire Empyrean's expression turned warm as he smiled. Since he has already made his decision, he might as well be more direct. Many thanks, Palace Lord. Your subordinate will naturally do his best for the Lifefire Palace. After speaking, Qin Wenyan's silhouette flashed as he flew towards the central platform. When he passed by Beauty Zhao's beautiful eyes stared straight at him as she transmitted her voice. "You are truly audacious." Qin Wenyan didn't reply. He simply walked past her. This time around, he went against the Li-Fire Empyrean's orders and came to Lifelong City privately. The Li-Fire Empyrean would definitely be unhappy in his heart. In addition, he had lost Yi Qinyu and had no way to control him like before. In that case, no one knew what attitude the Li-Fire Empyrean would have towards him. But now that he personally saw Yi Qinyu appearing here, he knew that he had to take a risk. Although he had made some preparations before this, in truth, he had always been acting according to the situation. The Li-Fire Palace suffered a crushing defeat. Stepping out now was already considered the best opportunity. When Qin Wenyan appeared, the other supreme emperors from the other 8 world palaces all turned their gazes to him. Although they naturally felt some contempt for him because of his cultivation base, but after they heard that he defeated Xiao Yu, they couldn't help but to take him seriously. It was just that they were all cursing silently in their hearts. Before this, there was already a demon-level character at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. And now, there was another one who appeared in the competition between the 9 world palaces. Also, both of them originated from Li-Fire City. What was going on with Li-Fire City? In a remote corner, a group of maidens stood there. Yi Qinyu was among them, radiating radiance and beauty. She simply stared at that figure. "Is it him?" Someone beside Yi Qinyu asked in a light voice. "It's him." Yi Qinyu nodded. The maidens from the Red Dust Immortal Palace all turned their gazes to Qin Wenyan. Was it this young man who caused Yi Qinyu to be trapped in the Li-Fire jail? They also wanted to see what his talent was like. "What sort of person is he?" someone asked. Yi Qinyu blinked her beautiful eyes before she smiled. "I thought he had changed. Who would have thought that he is still as foolish as before?" Chapter 1627. On the central platform, 9 figures could be seen. Each of them were peak-level immortal emperors. This was the final battle, the climax. The desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace, and the other powerful world palaces were all determined to win, hoping for a perfect ending. Hence, the lineup for this battle definitely wouldn't be any weaker compared to the first battle. In this battle, no one needed to fight against the other 8, using their battle records to determine their ranking. This meant that there was no chance of luck. Everyone had to continue fighting until the very end. The 9 of them reported their positions and names. Qin Wenyan, the northern governor of the Li-Fire Palace. Very swiftly, everyone clearly knew who he was and where he came from. This mysterious expert who caused a huge commotion in Lifelong City was from the northern city regions of the Li-Fire Palace. In addition, the northern governor of the Li-Fire Palace actually defeated the number 1 governor of the northern city regions, Xiao Yu. This sounded like a mockery to him. Lifelong City was directly governed by the Lifelong Saint Hall. The governors under them were all absolute elites and didn't even participate in the battles between the 9 world palaces. It was understandable that the weakest governor of Lifelong City was weaker than the 9 world palaces. However, Xiao Yu was the number 1 governor of the northern city regions. He couldn't even be compared to the Li-Fire Palace's governor who had lost all face earlier. Was it because Lifelong City's governor Xiao Yu was too weak, or was this Li-Fire governor Qin Wenyan too demon level? Most probably, they would soon be able to see the true strength of this mysterious governor. Since Governor Qin of the Li-Fire Palace has such glorious battle records in Lifelong City, let me seek guidance from you first. At this moment, a voice rang out. A monarch from the Zhengmetal Palace issued a challenge to Qin Wenyan. Each of them had to fight against all of their opponents. Since this was the case, he was extremely curious about Qin Wenyan's strength. He might as well fight against Qin Wenyan first and see what capabilities this governor of Li-Fire City has exactly. "Please guide me." Qin Wenyan calmly spoke. The other 7 temporarily retreated, opening up the battlefield for the monarch of the Zhengmetal Palace. A supremely powerful metal attribute law energy gushed forth from him. Resplendent golden light radiated from him, capable of penetrating through everything. In the air, resplendent astral light cascaded downwards, landing on his opponent. At this moment, a layer of golden clouds appeared in the air, radiating resplendent multicolored light. Each strand of multicolored light was like a golden spear, directly piercing through space, shooting towards Qin Wenyin. Upon sensing that terrifying fusion energy, Qin Wentian's body radiated an incomparably resplendent light. The golden light radiating from him was even more dazzling compared to the sunlight. Every beam of light transformed into a sword of light, causing the spectators to feel as though they couldn't look directly at it. The golden light and the light of light intersected. Bit by bit, they were destroyed and dissipated. When the endless light shone into the void, it descended upon the golden clouds. In an instant, the clouds dispersed, and the golden light quickly disappeared without a trace. Under the radiance of light, no other energy could exist. Under the illumination of the light, Qin Wenyin was like a god of light. His entire being seemed flawless. He stepped out and punched out, manifesting boundless radiance that transformed into a radiance divine fist that directly blasted towards the monarch from the Zheng Metal Palace. The monarch from the Zheng Metal Palace gathered his powerful fist might and blasted out. The golden fist light tore through space, leaving behind a series of golden fist shadows that collided with the radiance divine fist. Qin Wentian's attack had only just begun. He stepped forward step by step, and with every step he took, the pressure he exuded would grow stronger. That terrifying will of his could cause others to collapse. His radiance divine fist was no longer a single punch. Instead, it was a boundless fist light that pierced through the heavens and earth. He was like a god that ruled over everything, illuminating the world with his radiance. The monarch from the Zheng Metal Palace unleashed a terrifying aura. Numerous resplendent golden shadows appeared behind him. They blasted out fist light and palm imprints together, gathering supreme energy. There was even a fearsome golden ancient shield that revolved in front of him, blocking the attacks. However, the radiance was all-pervasive. Qin Wentian's attacks even curved forward, bypassing the defense and blasting towards the monarch's body. The monarch from the Zheng Metal Palace seemed to be gilded from head to toe. His body was forged from gold, and his defense was extremely strong. Numerous shadows appeared on his golden body, resembling an extremely powerful Dharma body. However, no matter how his opponent tried to resist, Qin Wenyin continued to use the radiance divine fist. He blasted out punch after punch, seemingly boundless. Tens of thousands of techniques were neutralized with a single strike. How tyrannical was that? Under the radiance, the monarch from the Zheng Metal Palace didn't last for too long before he was forced back, defeated. The eyes of the spectators flickered. From the start to the end, Qin Wenyin only used a single attack, the Fist of Light. Just by relying on a single innate technique, he managed to defeat a supreme monarch. From this, one could very well imagine that he was able to defeat Xiaoyu. The countenances of the other 7 monarchs also turned heavy. Next, which two will fight? The governor of the desolate Heaven Palace asked. There's no need to. Since we came here to fight for the number 1 position, we should win all 8 battles. Before this, there were also people who humiliated my Li-Fire Palace. Since I'm here, if I don't fight for the number 1 position for my Li-Fire Palace, it would be meaningless. Qin Wentian's white robes fluttered in the wind as he calmly spoke. So, let's continue with the second round. Governor of the Kongvada Palace, please guide me. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, the gazes of everyone froze. The eyes of the other 7 monarchs all gleamed with sharpness. Qin Wenyin wanted to challenge them one by one, wanting to end this battle with a complete victory. Was he treating them as nothing? In the martial competition earlier, even that mid-stage immortal Emperor Di Tian wasn't so arrogant, right? Were the mid-stage Empyrean emperors of the desolate Heaven Palace all so arrogant? On the battle platform, there were still peak-stage demon emperors from the desolate Heaven Palace, Empyreans from the Sky Air Palace, and supreme immortal emperors from the Xianyuan clan. However, all of them were disregarded by Qin Wenyin. He was prepared to continue fighting alone. The immortal emperor from the Kangvara Palace was the first to be called out. He had a cold expression on his face as he stepped out. He was an extremely powerful monarch from the Kangvara Palace and exuded an aura of supremacy. However, Qin Wentian's gaze was incomparably cold when he looked at him, like he didn't care about him at all. "I truly want to seek guidance from you." The eyes of this monarch from the Kangvara Palace shot out a terrifying netherworld chi. Sizzling sounds rang out as the space around Qin Wentian froze. Qin Wentian's robes were instantly covered in a layer of white frost as a suffocating aura suddenly descended without any warning. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with a terrifying light. In an instant, a pair of illusory eyes appeared in the air, manifesting a spatial domain. At this instant, the monarch from the Kangvara Palace only felt himself entering a world of eye techniques. He could see numerous figures of Qin Wentian floating in the air, radiating the power of light as they rushed towards him. The expression of the monarch from the Kangvara Palace instantly turned ugly to behold. But he still continued to radiate a fearsome netherworld energy. In an instant, the heavens and earth froze as everything froze. Qin Wentian's tens of thousands of illusory figures froze at the same time. This was the power of absolute frost. Qin Wentian's body radiated a supremely powerful aura of the netherworld law. His entire person was like an emperor of the netherworld, unexcelled in the world. "You have no hope." A voice rang out from the void. After that, the illusory figures of Qin Wentian appeared once more. Radiance radiated forth, the frost shadow Qin Wentian's shadow energy dissipated. Boundless radiance pierced through the ice, incomparably resplendent. Not only did Qin Wentian's shadow not decrease, it actually increased in size. The monarch from the Kangvara Palace knew that this was an illusion. He had entered Qin Wentian's law domain, but even though he knew it was an illusion, he had no way to break it. In that case, the ending of this battle was already destined. He was actually trapped by the law domain of a mid-stage immortal emperor. Just admit defeat. Countless swords of light radiated forth. There was no way to tell which one was real or fake. The monarch from the Kangvara Palace didn't know which sword of light would transform into a true sword of slaughter. He had been a supreme existence for a long time and was an Empyrean emperor. But right now, he felt somewhat dispirited. He shook his head. "I've lost." The law domain dissipated. The monarch from the Kangvara Palace stared ahead. Qin Wentian stood there like he had never moved before. Yet, Qin Wentian had trapped him. Reality or illusion? The monarch from the Kangvara Palace asked. Reality is also an illusion, and illusions are also reality. Qin Wentian replied. The monarch from the Kangvara Palace nodded and retreated. The eyes of many people froze. This battle seemed to be even easier compared to the previous one. Qin Wentian won 2 consecutive victories. Governor from the Scarlet Origin Palace, please guide me. Qin Wentian continued. He challenged all of them. There was no need for him to rest at all. The Scarlet Origin Palace's governor walked out. At this moment his gaze was much heavier when he faced Qin Wentian. 2 world palaces were still defeated. Without a doubt, this already proved how strong Qin Wentian was. How would he dare to be careless? The eyes of True Soul appeared once more. There was no way to defend against it unless one used a powerful law attack to break it apart. However, Qin Wentian's astral souls were extremely powerful. Although he was only at the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm, his law attributes were many times stronger compared to others. In addition to his comprehensions, how could his eye technique domain be so easily broken? Hence, within the eye technique domain, the Scarlet Origin Palace's governor suffered from Qin Wentian's frenzied attacks. He didn't last long and was defeated once more. After that, the Dragon Saddle Palace and the Gemini Palace. 5 world palaces were defeated consecutively by Qin Wentian. After 5 consecutive victories, Qin Wentian didn't stop at all. Although there were many people who obtained a battle record of 8 victories and 0 losses before, there had never been anyone like Qin Wentian. He completely ignored the battles between others and wanted to use his own strength to defeat all 8 world palaces. Before this, many people felt that it was impossible. But as the battles continued and the 5 world palaces were defeated, everyone started to waver. Right now, only the desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace, and Xinyuan Palace remained before him. However, these were also the 3 strongest world palaces. If Qin Wenyin wanted to win consecutively like before, it wouldn't be so easy anymore, right? Chapter 1628. The world palace lords and the people in the surroundings all stared at the battlefield, feeling somewhat taken aback. Before this, everyone felt that the Li-Fire Palace was destined to be at the bottom. For this battle, the governors and monarchs of the Li-Fire Palace would only be spectators, making up the numbers. The grand finale would naturally be supported by the desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace, or the Xinyuan Palace. However, this was truly a grand finale. A mid-stage immortal emperor appeared in the Li-Fire Palace. He walked up and fought against the governors and monarchs of the 5 world palaces, defeating all of them. He won 5 consecutive victories and didn't rest at all. It seemed like he wouldn't rest until he obtained 8 consecutive victories and obtained the first ranking. Right now, the Li-Fire Empyrean was feeling very conflicted. He didn't want Qin Wenyan to come to Lifelong City. Firstly, he didn't want him to know that Yi Qinyu was already in Lifelong City. Secondly, he didn't want Qin Wenyan to perform well here. Only then would he be able to better control Qin Wenyan. However, Qin Wenyan still came. In addition, Qin Wenyan was even more dazzling than he had expected. However, Qin Wenyan just so happened to appear at a time when he was extremely embarrassed. He was trying to salvage some face for his Li-Fire Palace. Earlier, all the world palace lords were looking at him mockingly. If Qin Wenyan could obtain the first ranking by winning 8 consecutive battles, his Li-Fire Palace would undoubtedly gain some face and he would also gain some light. Hence, he was feeling conflicted in his heart. He was thinking about how he should treat Qin Wenyan in the future. Xia Ho's expression was as gloomy as ever. The Jialan monarch was the same as well. This inconspicuous character back then was now many times stronger than him. Behind the Li-Fire Empyrean, there was still the Crow Emperor. He was the commander of the royal guards of the Li-Fire Palace, and it was none other than him who acted against Qin Wenyan and Yi Qinyu back then. If Qin Wenyan gained power, it would definitely not be a good thing for him. Jialan Yuntian had once invited Qin Wenyan to a banquet, wanting to make peace. However, Qin Wenyan said that as long as the Jialan monarch didn't die, it was impossible for them to make peace. Hence, the Jialan clan transferred Yi Qinyu away from the Li-Fire Palace, wanting to create a rift between Qin Wenyan and the Li-Fire Empyrean. Right now, they have already achieved their goal. The Li-Fire Empyrean and Qin Wenyan have already started to be wary of each other. Qin Wenyan even went against the Li-Fire Empyrean's orders and came here. However, Jialan Yuntian wasn't as complacent as he imagined. Because Qin Wenyan's performance was too outstanding and he was also a character comparable to Di Tian. It was very possible that he would be favored by the Realm Lord. On the battle platform, only the desolate Heaven Palace, Sky Air Palace, and the Xinyuan Palace remained, blocking Qin Wenyan's path. His gaze landed on the governor of the Xinyuan Palace as he spoke, "Please guide me." Before this, Di Tian fought against Xinyuan Tiangang from the Xinyuan clan. The governor of the Xinyuan Palace was also someone from the Xinyuan clan and their proficiency should be similar. The governor of the Xinyuan Palace walked out, staring at Qin Wenyan. In an instant, an extremely sharp aura gushed forth as a terrifying law domain appeared in the air. This was the domain of divine weapons. Countless divine weapons manifested in the air, transforming into a terrifying vortex that contained countless divine weapons that could destroy everything. The Xinyuan clan controlled the largest divine weapon market in the lifelong realm. There were many weaponsmithing grandmasters among them, and they were proficient in controlling divine weapons. They were like kings among weapons, able to control any divine weapons and transform them into their own attacks. In fact, they were also proficient in such law energy. From Qin Wenyan, the Vajra Holy will manifested as Buddhic light flashed. He seemed to have transformed into an ancient Buddha, forming an undying Buddha body. The power of the Buddhist path. The eyes of everyone gleamed with sharpness. This Qin Wenyin actually had such a profound understanding of the Buddhist path. It was simply unfathomable. Kill! The governor of the Xianyuan palace coldly snorted. The divine weapons slashed towards Qin Wentian's Buddhic body. However, at this moment, a fearsome golden body appeared, shining with resplendent Buddhic light, blocking the attacks of the divine weapons. However, under the might of the countless divine weapons, the Buddhic light's defense was broken apart. The fearsome attacks continued to rain down. However, countless arms appeared on Qin Wentian's Buddhic body, resembling a 1,000-armed Buddha. Each of the arms radiated a resplendent golden light, flowing with different law energy, manifesting a myriad of techniques that shot towards the incoming divine weapons. Many people had expressions of shock on their faces. That gigantic Buddha body had a myriad of arms, and each of the arms actually unleashed a different attack. It was as though there were a myriad of techniques erupting at the same time. In an instant, the domain attacks of the divine weapons were all destroyed. After that, the terrifying Buddhic arms broke through everything, shattering the domain attacks. Qin Wentian's body shone resplendently, resembling an ancient Buddha. His palms were pressed together as he stood there with his eyes closed, unmoving. His Dharma body expanded to 100 meters in size as the millions of arms swam about. After that, all of them shot out at the same time, attacking the governor of the Xianyuan palace. The myriad of techniques were all unleashed at the same time. The might of the attacks was extremely terrifying. The governor of the Xianyuan palace frenziedly defended, using the power of the divine weapons to devour everything. However, it was all useless. Qin Wentian's attacks were too tyrannical. The myriad of techniques complemented each other, shattering his attacks and shattering his defenses. With a thunderous boom, the governor of the Xianyuan palace was forced to retreat. The millions of arms floated in the air, swimming about. Qin Wentian's expression was solemn and solemn. The light from his body was still as resplendent as ever. He then spoke, "Yi Kong of the Sky Air Palace, please come out and fight." Yi Kong stared at Qin Wentian as his expression stiffened. He who was extremely confident in his own strength, no longer felt so confident at this moment. This fellow was simply too powerful. That Buddhist Dharma body was incomparably terrifying. It seemed to be a supremely powerful Dharma body formed from astral souls. As for the myriad of techniques, it was unknown where Qin Wentian cultivated them from. Qin Wentian was simply a monster. If Governor Yi doesn't have the confidence, why don't you fight together with the governor of the desolate Heaven Palace? Qin Wentian calmly spoke. The expressions of the desolate Heaven Palace's governor and Yi Kong froze as their expressions turned unsightly to behold. A mid-stage immortal emperor actually dared to say that he wanted to challenge two supreme immortal emperors? Everyone drew in a deep breath as shock appeared on their faces. This fellow was simply too arrogant. However, this governor from the Li-Fire Palace was truly very powerful. It was very possible that even the top ranker of the martial competition, Di Tian, wasn't as strong as him. Even until now, no one could see through his full strength. Just this Buddhist Dharma body before them was able to unleash the myriad of techniques. It was simply an unfathomable and tyrannical attack. Since he has spoken, the two of you can act together. If he is defeated, it will be considered a victory for each of you. At this moment, the lifelong Realm Lord smiled. His eyes were as calm as ever, exuding an unfathomable depth. Everyone knew that the Realm Lord also wanted to see how strong Qin Wentian was. Clearly, Qin Wentian had already attracted the Realm Lord's attention. If not, the Realm Lord wouldn't have spoken. Fu Zhan from the desolate Heaven Palace and Yi Kong from the Sky Air Palace both stepped out. Since the Realm Lord has spoken, they naturally had to act. Their gazes were extremely terrifying. From Fu Zhan's body, terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard, causing the eardrums of many to tremble. Even though he was just standing there seemed to be terrifying sound waves erupting forth unceasingly. The millions of arms on Qin Wentian's Dharma body seemed to be trembling as well. Yi Kong's body radiated a supreme sword intent, gushing forth unceasingly. The two of them exchanged glances before they acted. Fu Zhan stepped out. His body grew to a size of over 100 meters, resembling an ancient war god. A terrifying formless sound wave energy seemed to originate from the primordial era, capable of shattering everything. One after another, Qin Wentian's Dharma body actually shattered under the might of that sound wave. Yi Kong also acted. His movement technique was as fast as a shooting star. His sword technique was as fast as his movement technique. As his sword slashed out, the arm shattered as numerous afterimages appeared. In an instant, many of the arms of Qin Wentian's law body were destroyed. But what made everyone shocked was that his law body's arms would regenerate after being destroyed, indestructible and indestructible. The many arms converged into a terrifying Buddhist palm imprint that shot out at the same time, exuding boundless might. Fu Zhan roared and blasted out a primordial war god fist. A pitch-black storm appeared and continuously expanded, transforming into a primordial destructive current that tore apart all the power that blocked its path. Yi Kong's silhouette was like lightning. He directly broke through from the direction of Fu Zhan's shattered Dharma arms, shooting towards the direction of Qin Wentian's true body. When the Dharma arms blocked his path, Yi Kong's silhouette directly transformed into nothingness as he soared through the air, almost arriving before Qin Wentian. A sword slashed out, so fast that it resembled a beam of destructive light. Fu Zhan's attacks are tyrannical while Yi Kong's attacks are extremely fast. The two of them complemented each other, simply invincible. Everyone was shocked. Fu Zhan destroyed everything with a single strike, and Yi Kong directly appeared before Qin Wentian's true body. All of this happened in the span of a single thought. When the two of them cooperated, it could be said to be extremely terrifying. At this moment, Qin Wentian's true body opened his eyes. With a single glance, a boundlessly resplendent light flashed. Yi Kong only felt himself falling into a trance, entering an eye-technique domain. He didn't hesitate and slashed out with his sword, splitting apart the sky, destroying the eye-technique domain. However, Qin Wentian's figure could no longer be seen in front of him. There were only numerous vine-like arms wrapped around him, burying him within. Yi Kong radiated an extremely powerful sword might. In an instant, he slashed out with a lightning-like sword art, creating an opening in the domain. He instantly rushed out, only to see numerous palm imprints rushing towards him. He slashed out with his sword and retreated to the outside, floating in the air together with Fu Zhan as they stared at the silhouette before them. This Qin Wentian was too difficult to deal with. He was just a mid-stage immortal emperor. How could he be so difficult to deal with? Your strength isn't bad, but in this battlefield, you are destined to be defeated. For this battle, I will definitely obtain the #1 position for the Li-Fire Palace. Qin Wentian arrogantly spoke. In an instant, the millions of arms moved at the same time, fusing together into one, sealing this space. It was like a gigantic palm imprint, sealing the space within. At this moment, even the astral light in the air couldn't descend, it was severed. Fu Zhan and Yi Kong both had heavy expressions on their faces. That gigantic palm imprint actually manifested different types of law energy, radiating boundless destructive might. It transformed into a supreme grand formation, launching a sure-kill attack towards Fu Zhan and Yi Kong. Chapter 1629. Fu Zhan and Yi Kong were trapped within this gigantic Buddha palm imprint. They inclined their heads and stared at the center of the palm. This was clearly a Buddha palm imprint, yet there were laws of different attributes within it. Beams of terrifying swords of light slashed down, as well as spatial tempests. This palm imprint was like a killing formation. It wasn't just a single attack. The two of them were supreme immortal emperors, characters at the peak of their cultivation bases. But right now, they still felt despair. The spectators were all deeply shocked. This governor of Li-Fire City, Qin Wentian, actually fused the thousands of Buddha palms together, forming a terrifying Buddha palm imprint that blotted out the sky. It rained down a myriad of techniques, even isolating Fu Zhan and Yi Kong's astral light, causing them to have no way to borrow the power of astral law energy to fight. Rumble, Fu Zhan clenched his fists. His body grew larger and larger, completely transforming into an ancient battle god. His fists flowed with a terrifying destructive might, rumbling as sonic booms rang out. Fu Zhan stomped the air as he roared in rage. Both his fists ferociously punched out, blasting towards the palm imprint. Two destructive punches shook the heavens and earth, causing the space within to tremble. However, the sound of Sanskrit rang out. That terrifying Buddha palm imprint continued to interweave and transform, forming a terrifying spatial gate that was incomparably deep. When the incomparably shocking ancient slaughter fist descended, the spatial gate opened wide. The terrifying attack directly penetrated through it, passing through the giant palm imprint and headed towards the void. It was actually banished to the outside world, unable to truly come into contact with the giant palm imprint at all. This scene simply caused Fu Zhan to feel despair. Qin Wenyan had too many methods. He was simply a perfect individual, proficient in a myriad of techniques, able to do whatever he wanted. Yi Kong directly soared through the air. His sword slashed out unceasingly, slashing at the palm imprint, wanting to cleave it apart. If they continued to be trapped here, they would be defeated sooner or later. All of a sudden, a boundless amount of sword light descended from the great palm imprint. It was like a 10,000 sword formation, with Yi Kong as the center. The sword light shot out. Yi Kong's attack could not be sustained at all, and he continuously waved his sword to defend. In an instant, a storm of swords was formed around his body, which was incomparably resplendent. However, the space where he was at seemed to have become a sword tomb. Tens of thousands of swords returned to this place and slashed down. Yi Kong waved his sword and slashed open the void, directly passing through and leaving the battlefield, once again arriving at Fu Zhan's side. The two of them had their backs to each other, and a helpless expression appeared on their faces. They had fallen into this trap and could not break out at all. Admit defeat. Qin Wentian's voice drifted over. After that, countless arms appeared on the gigantic palm, blasting towards them. All sorts of attacks rained down on them. They continued to resist, destroying the attacks. However, terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard. The terrifying gigantic palm seemed to be about to slam down, bringing with it an endless amount of attacks, crushing towards them. Fu Zhan and Yi Kong both closed their eyes when they saw the gigantic palm. Fu Zhan sighed and said, "I've lost." "You've won." Yi Kong similarly spoke. After that, the gigantic palm froze in the air. After that, beams of law light dissipated as the gigantic palm transformed back into countless arms and returned to Qin Wentian's body. When his astral souls vanished, how could the terrifying scene earlier still exist? There was only the figure of a white-robed governor standing there, exuding an unparalleled aura. He fought against the governors and monarchs of the other 8 world palaces alone. In the final battle, he fought against Fu Zhan and Yi Kong, forcing the two of them to concede. Such a glorious battle record was truly something that had never been seen before. Right now, the governors and monarchs of the other 8 world palaces didn't even fight against each other. It was like all the light was focused on him alone. This man was none other than the governor of the Lifefire Palace, Qin Wenyan. Today, in the grand banquet of the lifelong realm, there would definitely be 2 people whose names would resound through the entire lifelong realm. One of them was none other than Di Tian, a grandmaster weaponsmith who obtained first place in the martial competition with a cultivation base at the mid-stage of the Immortal Emperor realm. As for the other person, he was none other than the governor of the Lifefire City. He was also a mid-stage Immortal Emperor and swept through the supreme Immortal Emperors of the other 8 world palaces, defeating 8 of them in a row and obtaining complete victories. Yi Qianyu was incomparably beautiful. Her beautiful eyes shone with a resplendent luster as she stared at the figure standing on the towering platform. The Lifefire Empyrean glanced at Qin Wenyan. Great waves actually rose in his heart. This Qin Wenyan was too outstanding. Back then when he made use of Qin Wenyan, although he knew that Qin Wenyan was powerful, he didn't expect Qin Wentian's talent to be so high. If he knew this would happen, he might have used gentler methods to treat Qin Wendian, nurturing Qin Wendian into his trusted aide. Now, Qin Wendian obtained first place, causing the Li-Fire Palace to not lose so much face. However, the Li-Fire Empyrean didn't really care about this. His mind was filled with thoughts on how he should treat Qin Wendian in the future. Naturally, the prerequisite was that the Realm Lord wouldn't ask him for Qin Wendian. Palace Lord, this Qin Wendian most probably still holds a grudge against you for what happened in the past. The Crow Emperor transmitted his voice to the Li-Fire Empyrean. The Li-Fire Empyrean frowned and glanced at the Crow Emperor. He naturally understood what the Crow Emperor was thinking. Back then, the person he sent to the Jialan Emperor city was none other than the Crow Emperor. He was the one who helped them capture Yi Qinyu. If Qin Wendian obtained power, the first people he would deal with would naturally be the Crow Emperor and the Jialan Monarch. The Jialan Monarch instantly knew what the Crow Emperor must have said when he saw the Li-Fire Empyrean's gaze. However, he didn't interrupt. Back then, the Li-Fire Empyrean had harmed him badly. Although he was a subordinate of the Li-Fire Empyrean, everyone knew what their relationship was like. It wasn't his place to speak. This Governor Qin isn't simple. Palace Lord, if you can gain his loyalty, he would surely be a ferocious general. In the future, if the Li-Fire Empyrean needs him, he would definitely be able to follow Palace Lord into battle. Beauty Zhao's eyes flashed with a smile as she casually spoke. Her beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light when she stared at Qin Wendian. She didn't expect this fellow to be so powerful. Right now, even the Li-Fire Empyrean's heart was stirred. The eyes of many major powers from the Li-Fire Palace flashed. This Governor Qin was sent to the northern city regions by the Li-Fire Empyrean. At that time, no one thought highly of him. They felt that he would be like the other governors from the past, being played around in the palms of the Jialan clan. However, after the battle at the ancient river auction house, Qin Wendian displayed his brilliance. Right now, in Lifelong City, his radiance was even more dazzling. If it wasn't for the fact that he had a shameful history as a bandit, it would be even more perfect. His background as a bandit would ultimately affect his future, causing the Li-Fire Empyrean to have to think twice before using him. No one knew what the lifelong Realm Lord would do after he learned of this matter. Jialan Yuntian and Jialan Chuyue from the Jialan clan all had complicated expressions on their faces. They didn't expect Jialan Chuyue's words to hit the nail on the head. The person who didn't come was here, and he was even more dazzling than they had imagined. Before this, after many people saw Di Tian's performance, they all felt that it would be hard for Di Tian to surpass him. No matter how outstanding the northern governor, Qin Wendian, was, he wouldn't be as outstanding as Grandmaster Di. But now, Qin Wendian single-handedly defeated the 8 world palaces. Between him and Di Tian, who was a Grandmaster weaponsmith and a Grandmaster, who was more outstanding? Grandmaster Di, what do you think of Governor Qin? Jialan Yuntian softly asked Di Tian. Governor Qin's magnificence is unmatched. Di Tian smiled. He naturally wouldn't say that they were the same person. If Jialan Yuntian knew of this, it was unknown what expression would he have? Seems like this old man was wrong back then. I hope Grandmaster Di Tian won't take it to heart. Jialan Yuntian spoke again. He was actually apologizing. Di Tian started. He instantly understood what Jialan Yuntian was referring to. Back then, the Jialan clan forced him to join their faction and even held a banquet to invite him. At the same time, they also invited Qin Wendian, separating Di Tian and Qin Wendian, allowing Di Tian to completely stand on their side. Right now, Jialan Yuntian clearly didn't dare to have any thoughts of controlling Di Tian. I'm not very clear about what Jialan clan leader is talking about. Di Tian shrugged and smiled. Jialan Yuntian's eyes flashed before he smiled and nodded. However, he was thinking in his heart, would Di Tian mind what happened back then? Countless people discussed. Their gazes all landed on Qin Wendian, the focus of the crowd. What would be the fate of this governor from Li-Fire City? The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Do the 8 of you still want to fight to determine the rankings? He was naturally referring to the other 8 governors other than Qin Wendian. The earlier battles had completely become a stage for Qin Wenyan alone. The other 8 supreme emperors were all reduced to supporting characters. Before the battle started, many people felt that the governors from the Li-Fire Palace were just there to make up the numbers. But now it was the complete opposite. There's no need. Fu Zhan spoke. Since the Realm Lord asked this, he naturally wanted them to skip the battles. If not, he just needed to say that the battles should continue. The others also understood the meaning of the Realm Lord's words. All of them shook their heads. There was no meaning to continue the battles. The finale was the grand finale. Qin Wenyan had stolen everyone's glory. In fact, he even stole the glory of the first ranker of the 13 rounds. Everyone can return to your respective world palaces. The lifelong Realm Lord waved his hand and smiled. Everyone's silhouettes flashed as they returned to their seats. Qin Wenyan came to the Li-Fire Emperor's side and bowed to him. Palace Lord, this subordinate has not let you down. Governor Qin, it's been hard on you. Please take a seat. The Li-Fire Emperor smiled. At this moment, he naturally wouldn't blame Qin Wenyan. Yes, Palace Lord. Qin Wenyan no longer had the arrogance he had on the battle platform earlier. He was extremely humble now. He knew that the Li-Fire Emperor wouldn't allow him to easily see through the Li-Fire Emperor's attitude. But he understood that he should keep a low profile now. Beauty Xiao winked at Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan walked to her side and sat down. Beauty Xiao was smiling at him as she transmitted her voice. You must be doing this for Yi Qinyu. When would you be able to do this for me? Qin Wenyan rolled his eyes. Beauty Xiao had a look of hidden bitterness on her face as she transmitted her voice. You have no conscience. Qin Wenyan turned his gaze in the direction of the lifelong Realm Lord. The lifelong Realm Lord had a smile on his face as he spoke. The battle between the 9 world palaces Emperors is even more fascinating compared to the previous one. Everyone, are you satisfied with the results? There are so many capable people in the lifelong realm. All of them are honored by the Realm Lord. The Sky Air Emperor respectfully spoke. He was the Realm Lord's disciple, but right now, he still referred to the lifelong Realm Lord as disciple. They weren't selected by me. They are all chosen based on your capabilities. For those who performed outstandingly earlier, you all have to reward them heavily. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed. Naturally. Your subordinates will naturally reward them heavily. The 9 world palace lords all expressed their stance. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled and nodded. He turned his gaze in the direction of the Li-Fire Palace. Such a character appeared in the Li-Fire Palace, but you actually didn't allow him to come. What's going on? Could it be that you are afraid this seat will snatch your people away? Chapter 1630. The Li-Fire Emperor's gaze froze. He didn't know how to reply for a moment. Qin Wenyan's situation was truly somewhat complicated, but it was impossible for him to say it out loud in front of everyone. He could only reply, this subordinate doesn't dare to. It's just that the Li-Fire city needs someone to guard it. Before this subordinate ordered Governor Qin to stand guard there. Is that so? The lifelong Realm Lord calmly asked. Qin Wenyan actually dared to say such an excuse in front of him? The Li-Fire Emperor had a look of difficulty on his face. But at this moment, Qin Wenyan stood up and bowed to the lifelong Realm Lord. This matter has nothing to do with Palace Lord. It's just that because this subordinate's identity is sensitive, Palace Lord is worried that something might go wrong. I beg for Palace Lord's forgiveness. Qin Wenyan's words caused the Li-Fire Emperor's eyes to narrow. The lifelong Realm Lord grew even more curious. Although he was the lifelong Realm Overlord, there would naturally be people who would handle the matters below him. There was no need for the 9 world palaces to report to him for ordinary matters. A mere bandit wouldn't be able to reach his ears. Hence, he had no idea about the matters between Yi Qinyu and Qin Wenyan. Your identity is sensitive? Tell me about it. The lifelong Realm Lord asked. Junior is a sinner and was born as a bandit. Back then in the territory of the Li-Fire Palace, the Jialan monarch was a bandit and was captured. Palace Lord disregarded this subordinate's identity and placed me in an important position. This subordinate is already filled with endless gratitude. Qin Wentian's tone was extremely polite, not wanting to offend the Li-Fire Empyrean at all. In fact, he even faintly praised the Li-Fire Empyrean. Although he was very impressive on the battlefield today, the Li-Fire Empyrean was after all one of the 9 World Palace Lords of the Lifelong Realm. His foundation wasn't something he could compare to in a single battle. Now that he wanted to save Yi Qinyu, he naturally couldn't afford to offend the Li-Fire Empyrean. Bandit? The Lifelong Realm Lord's eyes flashed with a strange light as he glanced at the Li-Fire Empyrean. Yes, Realm Lord. Also, back then I followed Yi Qinyu and became a bandit. Now that Yi Qinyu has appeared at the banquet, Palace Lord is worried that I might be impulsive if I meet her. This is why he wants me to stay in Li-Fire City. Qin Wentian continued. Yi Qinyu? The Lifelong Realm Lord thought back to that supreme beauty from the Red Dust Immortal Palace. Her name was Yi Qinyu and she was the daughter of the Night Empyrean back then. She came here to beg for forgiveness. His gaze turned to the crowd from the Red Dust Immortal Palace, and when his eyes landed on Yi Qinyu, he instantly understood some things. The crowd revealed a strange expression. They finally understood why Qin Wentian had appeared and why he was so domineering. It turned out that this battle was for the sake of a beauty. Qin Wentian wanted to do his best to display his talent, and from there, he wanted the Lifelong Realm Lord to release him? Yes. Qin Wentian nodded. In that case, you came here for her? The Lifelong Realm Lord directly asked. Realm Lord, please forgive me. Qin Wentian bowed. The Lifelong Realm Lord's gaze was fixed on him. Not only for the Realm Lord, at this moment, the Li-Fire Empyrean, people from the Jialan clan as well as many experts were all staring at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was a bandit, but his talent was extraordinary. He participated in the lifelong banquet and fought in such a domineering manner, all for the sake of a woman. However, this woman was truly a supreme beauty. That dance she performed caused many major characters to feel their hearts stirring, wanting to take her for themselves. Now, it all depended on the Realm Lord's decision. Would he spare Yi Qinyu because of Qin Wentian's talent? Yi Qinyu was captured by your Li-Fire Palace? The Lifelong Realm Lord suddenly turned to the Li-Fire Empyrean, replying to Realm Lord. Back then, Yi Qinyu was the leader of the bandits, causing chaos in the region. I ordered my men to capture her and lock her up in the prison. Because Qin Wentian was only an accomplice, he had no choice but to join the bandits, and his talent was truly extraordinary. Hence, I didn't imprison him as well and wanted him to atone for his crimes through his contributions. The Li-Fire Empyrean spoke. No matter how highly the Realm Lord regarded Qin Wentian's talent, he still had to make things clear. In that case, you didn't do anything wrong. The Lifelong Realm Lord nodded lightly. Has Qin Wentian done anything before? He has been the governor of the northern regions of Li-Fire City for tens of years and has contributed greatly to the reorganization of the northern regions. The Li-Fire Empyrean spoke. Since this is the case, Qin Wentian, you don't have to care about your identity as a bandit anymore. Just continue to be the governor of Li-Fire City. The Lifelong Realm Lord spoke. This sentence was undoubtedly paving the way for Qin Wentian's future. He wouldn't care about Qin Wentian's identity as a bandit anymore. As for Yi Qinyu, she is the leader of the bandits. It's impossible for me to release her just like that. Just let her stay in the Lifelong Saint Hall as a servant for now. In the future, if Qin Wentian has done something great, you can come and ask me for her again. The Lifelong Realm Lord decided Yi Qinyu's fate with a single sentence. Qin Wentian felt a little disappointed in his heart. When he saw Yi Qinyu appearing here, he decided to take the risk and fight, shocking everyone with a domineering battle. He truly hoped that the Realm Lord would spare Yi Qinyu. However, the Lifelong Realm Lord's words were impeccable. As the leader of the bandits, he couldn't release Yi Qinyu just like that. Letting him redeem Yi Qinyu after achieving great merits was already showing him mercy. What else could he say? Many thanks for Realm Lord's kindness. Qin Wentian bowed. He could only thank the Lifelong Realm Lord. In the future, give him more opportunities to gain merits. The lifelong Realm Lord instructed the Life-Fire Empyrean. Yes, Realm Lord. The Life-Fire Empyrean nodded. Seems like the Realm Lord truly regarded Qin Wenyan highly. Although the Realm Lord didn't ask him for Qin Wenyan, he wanted to make use of him to allow Qin Wenyan to gain merits. In that case, if he wanted to use Qin Wenyan in the future, it would be much more convenient. He could directly transfer Qin Wenyan to the lifelong Saint Hall. Alright, everyone, there's no need to be so reserved. Let's enjoy this banquet. Next, if the 9 world palaces have any matters they need to report, they can directly come to my place. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled in a carefree manner. Everyone had smiles on their faces as they toasted to the lifelong Realm Lord. After that, the atmosphere grew livelier. The fairies of the Red Dust Immortal Palace once again floated down to the central platform and started dancing. There were also beauties playing elegant melodies. However, this time around, Yi Qianyu didn't go up and remained at her original location. Qin Wenyan turned his gaze in Yi Qianyu's direction only to see that Yi Qianyu was also looking in his direction at this moment. She had a radiant smile on her face, exuding a sense of seduction. She even winked at him. Qin Wenyan laughed when he saw this scene. Although she was a maid in the lifelong Saint Hall and couldn't be considered as having freedom, it was still much better than staying in the Life-Fire jail. Governor Qin, congratulations. Beauty Xiao saw that Qin Wenyan and Yi Qianyu were exchanging glances and couldn't help but to giggle. She lifted her cup and moved closer to Qin Wenyan. Her soft body was almost pressed against Qin Wentian's. Her snow-white chest was faintly discernible and was extremely alluring. Staring at the mischievous smile on her face, Qin Wenyan instantly knew that this woman was doing this intentionally. Qin Wenyan saw that Yi Qianyu from afar had a meaningful smile on her face when she saw this scene. Her gaze was filled with hidden bitterness. Qin Wenyan bitterly smiled and shook his head, clinking his cup with Beauty Xiao. Beauty Xiao, there's no need for you to be so close to him, right? Yin Qiu's neutral voice rang out. Beauty Xiao glanced at him and pressed even tighter against Qin Wenyan, almost pouncing on Qin Wenyan. The Life-Fire Empyrean didn't find this strange. Beauty Xiao has always been like this. He didn't think too much about it. Seems like your gamble was right. With the Realm Lord's words, the Life-Fire Empyrean wouldn't dare to act against you so easily in the future. He would probably use soft tactics to rope you in. Beauty Xiao spoke in a light voice. This time around, I was the one who gave you this information. How do you intend to thank me? As she transmitted her voice, Beauty Xiao's red lips were alluring, revealing an extremely ambiguous expression towards Qin Wenyan. This caused Qin Wenyan to silently curse at her for being a vixen. Governor Qin, let me toast you as well. Before this, there were some unpleasantness between us. I hope that Governor Qin won't take it to heart. Xia Ho raised his cup to Qin Wenyan as he spoke, as though he wanted to make peace with Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan calmly glanced at Xia Ho as a teasing smile could be seen on his face. Before this, Xia Ho would mock him every time they met. But now, Xia Ho actually wanted to admit defeat? Governor Xia Ho is too polite. Qin Wenyan raised his cup and smiled. He didn't make things difficult for Xia Ho. He knew that Xia Ho's words didn't mean that Xia Ho had no ill feelings towards him and wanted to be on good terms with him. Even if he raised his cup in response, it didn't mean that he had forgotten about the past. Qin Wenyan, today, you have truly gained face for our Life-Fire Palace. Grand Governor Zhuge Xiong took the initiative to toast to Qin Wenyan. Since the Realm Lord has personally spoken, they all knew that the Life-Fire Empyrean would do his best to rope in Qin Wenyan. Hence, there was no need for them to hold back. Grand Governor, please. Qin Wenyan replied. After that, Lin Ba also came over to toast to Qin Wenyan. His attitude towards Qin Wenyan was extremely polite. Not only so, the major powers who came here together with the Life-Fire Empyrean also came over to toast to Qin Wenyan, exchanging some pleasantries, appearing extremely friendly. After the battle today, both Qin Wenyan and Di Tian would become characters that no one dared to approach in Life-Fire City. Only the Jialan monarch had a heavy expression on his face as he sat there, drinking alone. His countenance was pale and extremely unsightly to behold. Anyone could reconcile with Qin Wenyan, but it was impossible for him. Right from the start, the Li-Fire Empyrean wanted to rope in Qin Wenyin. Although he was making use of Qin Wenyin, his method was very gentle and he didn't have any deep grudges with Qin Wenyin. Even the Jialan clan couldn't be considered to have a grudge with Qin Wenyin. The only person who truly had a deep grudge with Qin Wenyin was him, the Jialan monarch. Because of the grudge between him and his daughter, Jialan Mingyue, he had offended Qin Wenyin greatly. Naturally, Qin Wenyin and Yi Qinyu also caused him to be in a miserable state. This grudge couldn't be resolved. But now, Qin Wenyin displayed such talent, and in addition to the fact that the Jialan clan wanted to reconcile with Qin Wenyin, the Jialan monarch grew increasingly unhappy the more he thought about it. Given the current situation, the Jialan monarch might even express goodwill to Qin Wenyin in the future. They wouldn't want to offend this supreme immortal emperor who was noticed by the realm lord. As he thought of this, the Jialan monarch continued to drink alone to drown his sorrows. Over at the Jialan clan's side, the spiritual character of the Jialan clan, Jialan Jiangshan, already understood the grudge between the Jialan clan and Qin Wenyin. He spoke to Jialan Yuntian, "Do your best to mend the relationship between you and Qin Wenyin." Chapter 1631. Many thanks, Palace Lord. Di Tian clasped his hands to the Li-Fire Empyrean, laughing silently in his heart. The Li-Fire Empyrean and his original self, Qin Wenyin, had a grudge because of Yi Qinyu. He would naturally be on guard against Qin Wenyin, but towards him, the Li-Fire Empyrean would definitely pull him back from the Jialan clan. "Seniors, you two are too serious." Qin Wenyin had a sincere smile on his face. He didn't expect that he would meet someone from the Battle Saint tribe here. "Ancient Emperor?" The two palace lords started. They exchanged mutual glances and laughed involuntarily. Maybe it's because of the time difference. "Right now, do you guys refer to him as Ancient Emperor?" Di Tian originally had the identity of an unaffiliated cultivator. But because he was already appointed as the supervisory commander of the Li-Fire Palace by the Realm Lord, he could be considered an official of the lifelong realm. Since the Li-Fire Empyrean personally invited him, Di Tian naturally wouldn't reject. The people of the Jialan clan glanced at Di Tian with some worry in their hearts, worried that the friendship they spent so much effort to establish with Di Tian would be destroyed by the Li-Fire Empyrean. Before they left, Jialan Chiyue stared at Di Tian with a hint of bitterness in her eyes. "Palace lords, how are you related to Ancient Emperor Yi?" Qin Wenyin asked. He stared at the two before him. Could it be that one of them was Ancient Emperor Yi? Everything pointed to a single place, the Battle Saint tribe. "I'm asking about your roots." That palace lord continued. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a strange light, but he quickly concealed it. Junior doesn't understand what Palace Lord White means by this. The two palace lords nodded. After that, the two serving girls retreated. One of the palace lords waved her hand as a formless energy enveloped this courtyard, isolating it from the probing of immortal senses. The Gemini palace lord smiled and nodded. However, the rumors outside are all mixed. Ancient Emperor Yi might not be a good friend of the lifelong Realm Lord. Oh right, I saw that the palm imprint Di Tian used also contained a trace of the intent of God's hand, but I don't dare to confirm if that was the manifestation of God's hand. Qin Wenyin abruptly stood up as a flash of lightning flashed in his eyes. Their surname was Qi. This surname wasn't strange at all. But if one connected Ancient Emperor Yi and God's hand with this surname, there would be a deeper meaning to it. In that case, you are indeed the successor of Ancient Emperor Yi? The two palace lords asked. "This is what I should do." Qin Wenyin was still humble. "Ancient Emperor Yi of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms? I'm from the Gemini Temple, and I'm the palace master's maid. My palace master has invited you over." The maid smiled, her words causing Qin Wenyin to be even more puzzled. He stared at her and asked, "Gemini Palace Lord, what did you invite me for?" "I've been to a place with 3 bronze gates. I went in." Qin Wenyin still didn't dare to reveal it easily. He was still a little alert, but his words had already hinted very clearly. "Governor Qin, please. The immortal emperor maidservant smiled and gestured. After that, the two of them walked forward and arrived at the Gemini Palace within the Longevity Hall. Surnamed Qi, God's Hand, Ancient Emperor. Ancient Emperor? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed as he asked. The two palace lords continued to place their chess pieces. After some time, one of them asked, Qin Wentian, where did you come from? Qin Wentian started. He stared at the other party and replied, Junior comes from Lifefire City. Have you heard of Ancient Emperor? The two palace lords of the Gemini Palace put down their chess pieces and turned their gazes to Qin Wentian. At this moment, Qin Wentian only felt a huge pressure bearing down on him. At the same time, his heart pounded violently as he stared in shock at the two palace lords. Qin Wentian initially wanted to look for Yi Qinyu. However, Yi Qinyu had already left with the people from the Red Dust Immortal Palace. They still needed to wait for the Realm Lord to deal with them. Although the Realm Lord spared Yi Qinyu from jail, she was forced to become a servant in the lifelong Saint Hall. As for the fact that there were bandits in the Red Dust Immortal Palace, they naturally had to give the Realm Lord an explanation. Emichim, I heard that the two of you are subordinates of a world overlord. It's rumored that he is a friend of the lifelong Realm Lord. In that case, Senior Ancient Emperor Yi must be that Realm Lord? Qin Wentian asked. However, he had no other choice. The Gemini Palace Lord had already given the order. He could only speak to Di Tian. Grandmaster Di, Xia Ho, have offended you in the past. If there's a chance, Xia Ho, will definitely hold a banquet to apologize. I hope that Grandmaster Di can forgive me. Fairy, please lead the way. Qin Wentian nodded. In that case, should the two of us pay our respects to the Saint Lord? The two of them exchanged glances and smiled. At the same time, they stared at Qin Wentian, causing great waves of shock to rise in Qin Wentian's heart. Our surnames are Qi. The two of them spoke at the same time. Have you heard of the two of us? The Gemini Palace Lord asked. Lifelong City arranged lodgings for the 9 World Palace Lords and their subordinates. Every 100 years, the 9 World Palace Lords would stay in the same location. The various governors and monarchs would naturally stay together with their World Palace Lords. As for the people from the other major and minor powers, they could only head to Lifelong City to look for inns or hotels to stay in. The Lifelong Realm is boundlessly vast. There are many experts with authority. The 9 World Palaces have their own territories. All of you came from my Lifefire City. In the future, no matter where you go, my Lifefire Palace will always be your backing. The Lifefire Empyrean spoke. It's the same for the others as well. All of you have the imprint of Lifefire City on you. Ancient Emperor Yi, they actually asked him if he had heard of Ancient Emperor Yi before. Governor Qin. This maiden smiled as she called out to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian asked in puzzlement, Fairy, you are? Di Tian, I've heard of the matters in the past. Xia Ho acted on his own and made things difficult for your Emperor Pavilion. After that, I sent Violet Moon to the central regions to settle this matter. Violet Moon should have gone to the Emperor Pavilion before, right? The Lifefire Empyrean asked Di Tian. Di Tian glanced at Violet Moon, who was beside the Lifefire Empyrean, and smiled as he nodded. Thank you, Palace Lord, for interfering in this matter. Qin Wentian started as well. That's right, in this era, they naturally referred to him as Ancient Emperor Yi. But what if this Gemini Palace Lord was someone from the same era as Ancient Emperor? It would be impossible for him to refer to himself as Ancient Emperor Yi. As he spoke, he quickened his pace and departed. The Jialan monarch's expression froze. He stared at the back view of Qin Wentian as his expression grew extremely ugly. This was a blatant threat to him. Since Palace Lord has already spoken, I naturally won't be calculative with you. As for the banquet, let's forget about it. Di Tian calmly spoke, not giving any face to Xia Ho at all. Right now, he also didn't need to give face to Xia Ho. The lifelong Realm Lord had personally appointed him as the supervisory commander, and he had the authority to do so. Only the governors and monarchs would beg him for help. He didn't need to submit to any of them. Even the Lifefire Empyrean wouldn't be able to control him. After the banquet, the music would eventually come to an end. This is what I should do. Xiaoho, in the future, you and Di Tian will be comrades. Apologize for what happened in the past. The Li-Fire Empyrean instructed. Xiaoho's expression froze. Before this, he had already submitted to Qin Wendian. Now, he was ordered to apologize to Di Tian again. This could be considered a complete loss of face. Maybe the Li-Fire Empyrean admires Governor Qin because of your outstanding talent. In any case, my Li-Fire Empyrean naturally wouldn't harm Governor Qin. The serving girl smiled. Qin Wendian nodded. This place was the lifelong Saint Hall. No matter what, there was no harm in making a trip there. How did you all know? Qin Wendian asked. So, the two palace lords of the Gemini Palace were still playing chess, but they spoke to Qin Wendian. Some things should be stopped when the time is right. The Li-Fire Empyrean naturally wouldn't lower his status too much. After exchanging some pleasantries with Di Tian and Qin Wendian, he allowed everyone to depart. When they exited, Qin Wendian intentionally walked together with the Jialan monarch. He spoke in a low voice. Jialan monarch, you have to be more careful in the future. Qin Wendian walked up and came to the side of the chessboard. He glanced at it and saw that both sides were evenly matched. After that, he sat down quietly and didn't interrupt. Hm. Jr. was fortunate enough to cultivate God's hand and entered the Battle Saint tribe. I'm the Saint Lord of this generation of the Battle Saint tribe. Qin Wendian spoke. He then continued, where is Senior Ancient Emperor Yi? Palace Lord is too serious. Di Tian calmly replied, neither servile nor overbearing. Xiaoho was extremely arrogant. This point could be seen from his domineering attitude towards Di Tian back then. But now, the two people he offended back then, he couldn't afford to offend either of them. Both of them had to apologize. From this, one could very well imagine how uncomfortable he felt in his heart. In a courtyard, in a pavilion under the moonlight, two figures were currently playing chess. Other than them, there was also a beautiful immortal emperor serving girl. Upon seeing Qin Wendian walking over, that serving girl smiled. Palace Lord, Governor Qin has arrived. We will take our leave first. Xiaoho's expression stiffened. The Li-Fire Empyrean acted like he didn't understand Di Tian's words. He calmly nodded. Di Tian, in the future when your Emperor Pavilion expands in Li-Fire City. If you need anything, just come to the Li-Fire Palace directly to look for me. I will naturally protect you. The World Palace Lords of the 9 World Palaces still had matters to handle and naturally had to stay in the lifelong Saint Hall. They still needed to hand over the tributes for the past 100 years. That final giant palm imprint, was it a manifestation of God's hand? A World Palace Lord asked. At this moment, Qin Wendian no longer had any doubts. Seems like the 2 World Palace Lords have already seen through it. In the Great Hall, the Li-Fire Empyrean sat on the main seat. He swept his gaze over everyone before smiling at Di Tian and Qin Wendian. In the battle today, Governor Di and Qin Wendian, the two of you have displayed your brilliance and brought glory to our Li-Fire City. As the Palace Lord, I also feel that I've gained a lot of face. Yes, Palace Lord. Everyone nodded. This Li-Fire Empyrean was trying to win over the hearts of the people. However, what he said was also the truth. There would definitely be countless connections between the various powers. In the future, even if they took up a position in the lifelong Saint Hall, they would still have the mark of the Li-Fire Palace on them. Unless one day, they became the trusted aides of the Realm Lord. Only then would they be able to completely discard the mark of the past. The lifelong Saint Hall was very vast. Each of the 9 world palaces had their own residences here. That night, the Li-Fire Empyrean ordered the governors and monarchs of Li-Fire City to give a speech and even invited Di Tian. Chapter 1632. Qin Wendian started. The palm imprint Di Tian used at the end was indeed a manifestation of God's hand, but in truth, it seemed more like a sealing palm. Those who weren't familiar with God's hand would definitely not be able to tell. But since the Gemini Palace Lords were from the Battle Saint tribe, it wasn't that strange for them to be able to see through it. God's hand was originally a manifestation of the battle saint art. Maybe, the battle saint art contained many different forms of God's hand. Hence, they were able to see through it the most. Senior's eyes are like torches. Tion and I are twins. I've cultivated God's hand and there's naturally no need for me to hide it from him. The two of us are the same as seniors, both of us are saint lords of the battle saint tribe. Because we might encounter unknown dangers in the supreme ancient immortal realms, the two of us decided to conceal our identities and act separately. Even if something happens to one of us, there's still someone else who can take revenge. I hope that seniors can help me keep this a secret. Qin Wentian spoke. He didn't reveal the matter about his avatar. He still had to keep this a secret. If it wasn't someone from the Battle Saint tribe, he wouldn't even admit that he had a relationship with Tion. No wonder. The Gemini Palace lords nodded. They didn't suspect anything. Qin Wentian and Tion's law attributes were completely different. No one would suspect that they were the same person. Hence, they believed Qin Wentian's words even more. Don't worry, we naturally won't reveal this matter. Is the Battle Saint tribe doing well now? Did anyone follow you to the supreme ancient immortal realms? The Battle Saint tribe is doing very well. As for me coming to the supreme ancient immortal realms, it's also a coincidence. No one from the Battle Saint tribe followed me here, they are all still in Azure Mystic. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. Oh yes, seniors, if I wish to return to Azure Mystic, what should I do? Given your current cultivation base, it would be extremely difficult if you want to directly traverse the immortal realms. Also, the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms is a forbidden region. Hence, it isn't like the other immortal realms where many peak powers have teleportation arrays. If you want to return to Azure Mystic now, it would be extremely troublesome. A palace lord said. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with disappointment. It was not easy to return to Azure Mystic. There's one more thing I have to tell you. The lifelong realm lord should have already seen through the god's hand you used. Tion might not be able to tell, but the final move of this true body is clearly a derivation of God's hand. The Saint Lord had once used a similar derivation technique before, it would be hard to hide it from the lifelong Realm Lord's eyes. Hence, you have to be mentally prepared. The lifelong Realm Lord might not put you in an important position. On the contrary, the possibility of your twin brother Tion being put in an important position is higher. Qin Wentian's expression froze. Seems like the relationship between the lifelong Realm Lord and Ancient Emperor Yi was very subtle. They weren't as good friends as the rumors said. In that case, Yi Qinyu? Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. It's highly possible that he intentionally left her in the lifelong Saint Hall. However, you don't have to worry too much. At the very least, Yi Qinyu isn't in any danger. The lifelong Realm Lord can see that you used God's hand and would definitely think that you are a successor nurtured by the Saint Lord, allowing you to temper yourself in his lifelong realm. Although he wouldn't put you in an important position, he wouldn't go to the extent of suppressing you either. Qin Wentian nodded. That's right, out of the 9 world palaces, one of them was already a subordinate of Ancient Emperor Yi. He also didn't hide his God's hand when he used it. The lifelong realm would definitely think that he was Ancient Emperor Yi's successor and wouldn't allow him to have a high position in the lifelong realm. If not, was this lifelong realm the lifelong realm lord belonged to or the lifelong realm belonged to Ancient Emperor? But since he didn't hide his God's hand, the lifelong realm would definitely think that he was someone arranged by Ancient Emperor Yi. They naturally wouldn't do anything to him. When he thought of this, a strange expression appeared on Qin Wentian's face. He didn't expect that using God's hand would actually cause such complicated karma. Are you very depressed? The Gemini Palace Lord laughed. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. I just didn't expect this. One of the Palace Lords stretched out his hand and patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder. We will definitely inform the Saint Lord about your matter. It's just that we have no idea where the Saint Lord has gone to right now. Let's exchange our immortal senses first. If you encounter any trouble in the future, you can ask me for help. As he spoke, he took out his messaging crystal. Qin Wentian did the same and the 3 of them exchanged their immortal senses. This way, if they wanted to contact each other in the future, they would be able to do so through their messaging crystals. The three of them chatted for a while more before Qin Wenyan bid his farewell and returned to his own palace to rest. Nothing happened that night. On the second day, the palace lords of the 9 world palaces brought their serving girls with them and left to report to the realm lord. Qin Wenyan and the others still remained in the palace. Qin Wenyan, who was resting with his eyes closed, suddenly heard a commotion. His immortal sense gushed out as he stood up. His silhouette flashed and an instant later, he appeared outside Beauty Zhao's palace. Many people had barged in and the person leading them was none other than the person whom Qin Wenyan had defeated before, the northern governor of Lifelong City, Xiao Yu. Other than them, many other governors and monarchs of the Lifefire Palace also came here. When they saw the situation here, the charming smile on Beauty Zhao's face disappeared. Her expression was filled with coldness and stubbornness as she stared at the group of people who just appeared. "I'm a governor of the Lifefire Palace. Aren't you guys violating the rules by barging in like this?" Beauty Zhao coldly spoke. "We are here to see the juniors of our clan. Would the Lifefire Empyrean have any objections?" An elder behind Xiao Yu walked out, coldly staring at Beauty Zhao. "Who is your junior?" Beauty Zhao coldly spoke. "You don't even want to acknowledge your ancestors?" That elder's eyes gleamed with coldness. "I heard that during these years, your actions in Lifefire City have been extremely unrestrained. You might not find it embarrassing, but my Xiao clan of the Sword Spirit sect can't afford to lose face like this." Although the Sword Spirit sect was a sect, it could also be considered a clan. Right now, the Sword Spirit sect was controlled by 2 major clans. One of them was none other than the Xiao clan. However, the Sword Spirit sect wouldn't reject outsiders from joining. The governor of Lifefire City, Beauty Zhao, was also someone from the Xiao clan. A look of surprise appeared on Qin Wentian's face. As for the other monarchs and governors of Lifefire City, their expressions were normal. Clearly, they already knew about this. "I've long had no relationship with you guys. There's no need for you guys to interfere in my actions." Beauty Zhao coldly spoke. "Slut." Xiao Yu coldly spat out, his tone was extremely sharp. "Back then when the clan arranged a marriage for you, you didn't agree and insisted on following a trash. The clan killed him for you because it was out of consideration for you. I didn't expect you to be so shameless now, throwing away the face of our Xiao clan. Yet you still refuse to admit your guilt?" Beauty Zhao's expression instantly turned ashen. She stared at Xiao Yu. "In terms of seniority, I can be considered your elder. How can you speak to me like this? How can such a lowly person be qualified to be my elder?" Coldness radiated from Xiao Yu. He took a step out, wanting to attack Beauty Zhao. "This is the Lifelong Saint Hall. You dare?" Beauty Zhao's expression changed. "Since you wanted to break away from my Xiao clan, you were also expelled back then. If my Xiao clan teaches an unfilial person a lesson, the realm lord wouldn't say anything." Xiao Yu coldly spoke. His palms stretched out, transforming into a giant palm imprint that blasted towards Beauty Zhao. Beauty Zhao's expression changed. She stabbed out with her fingers, actually wanting to fight here. Both of them were governors. Beauty Zhao was a governor of Lifefire City while Xiao Yu was a genius governor of Lifelong City. Their strengths weren't on the same level. Numerous terrifying attacks clashed against each other. A crisp sound rang out as Beauty Zhao's face was slapped. She directly fell to the ground as blood flowed from the corner of her mouth. "My Xiao clan originally wanted to cripple you. But since you are a member of the Lifefire Palace, as long as you kneel and accept 3 palm strikes, we will expel you from the Xiao clan. From then on, you will be a lowly person and have nothing to do with my Xiao clan." Xiao Yu coldly spoke as he stepped forward. "Impudent." A cold voice rang out. Because Beauty Zhao was someone from the Xiao clan, Qin Wenyan initially didn't want to interfere. After all, this was a matter of the Xiao clan. But now, the Xiao clan clearly came here to humiliate Beauty Zhao. He couldn't bear to watch this any longer. Xiao Yu stared at Qin Wenyan as his expression instantly turned unsightly. He coldly spoke, "This is a matter of my Xiao clan. Unrelated people shouldn't interfere." Qin Wentian's eyes blinked as a terrifying sword intent directly penetrated into Xiao Yu's eyes. He stepped out and directly blasted out with his palm. Xiao Yu's aura instantly erupted forth as his sword intent towered, clashing against Qin Wentian's attack. With a thunderous boom, his body was flung through the air as he retreated repeatedly. "What are you doing?" The experts of the Sword Spirit sect all unleashed their cold auras at Qin Wenin. "Daring to come to my Lifefire Palace and humiliate a governor of my Lifefire Palace? Moreover, this is the lifelong realm. Do you all have the Realm Lord and my Lifefire Palace Lord in your eyes?" Qin Wendian walked towards Beauty Xiao as he coldly spoke. "This is a family matter." An old man coldly spoke. "She has already said that she has nothing to do with the Xiao clan. Also, earlier you all said that you want to expel her. Since this is the case, did you all come here just to humiliate a governor of my Lifefire Palace?" Qin Wentian coldly spoke. "Yesterday, I saw that slut seducing him. Did something happen between the two of you? Why are you so protective of her?" Someone from the back coldly spoke. The Sword Spirit sect naturally didn't have any good impression of Qin Wentian. He defeated Xiao Yu and caused Xiao Yu to lose face. How could the Sword Spirit sect be polite to him? "So what?" Qin Wentian laughed. He walked towards Beauty Xiao and wrapped his arms around her waist, causing her body to tremble. She inclined her head and stared at his handsome face. "You guys are also so interested in my private matters?" Qin Wentian threatened. "Don't blame me for not reminding you all. If anyone dares to humiliate her again, don't blame me for not being polite." "Not being polite?" Xiao Yu walked out, his killing intent radiating forth. "No matter how you treat her, I will repay you double." Qin Wentian similarly radiated coldness. "You appeared on the platform for Yi Qinyu. I initially thought that your feelings for Yi Qinyu were very deep. Who would have thought that you would also want such a slut?" Xiao Yu laughed loudly. Beauty Xiao was continuously humiliated. Her countenance turned pale. She stared at Qin Wentian, yet Qin Wentian's expression didn't change at all. He merely spat out a single word, "Scram." Xiao Yu and the others had unsightly expressions on their faces. After that, they coldly stared at Qin Wentian. Let's hope Governor Qin knows his place. After speaking, the people of the Xiao clan flicked their sleeves and departed. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.